Thank you, Sierra. Yes, for Shopify, it's about revenge and redemption. For SAD, a resurgence to become reality. And they both survived the lower bracket, but SAD will need to beat them again to silence these Titans for good. And starting on the same map as their last encounter bans, the script writes itself.
This game for SAD Esports and Shopify Rebellion Black, they both have to treat this game like a grand finals. For SAD Esports, as Ades has mentioned, they have to try to win it all. For SRB, is just to at least alleviate a little bit of pressure, to guarantee at least the LCQ if they can make it to the grand finals, which is why it's going to be super important, especially going against a team of SAD Esports that knocked them down. But yes, Lemon Kiwi, this is a great map for SRB to start with because they've been unstoppable on this map. Roy talked about how Smoke was so good on this map, or is so good on this map. My eyes are also on Exa on the attack side. He is the final boss of the A side control and lurks. That probably has to be a win con for SAD Esports to overtake.
I know the stats for Smoke do not speak enough to how much of an impact he had yesterday. You guys missed cinema. 13-1 is how SRB ended that series yesterday on this map. Very good at ending series on Lotus. We'll see if they can kick it off. And a haunt thrown SAD's way, already marking a good stack of SRB on this side of the map. It's not going to force any kind of progression through A or anything like that. And SRB will collect their orb and go hunting elsewhere.
It's still very good though. They went for a flash haunt to get full information on B side, yet nobody added pressure on C or tempoed up. So SAD Esports knows that there's some sort of a mid pivot towards the A side to start, especially when they confirm with the Prowler at the 1 minute. Now you see this lean. The stall from SRB is huge because now they could sell the fake on the A site to hit B in the late round.
Paranoia just barely whistling by Exa in that moment. This is such a slow pistol too. SRB, this has been one of their weaker points, to be honest, but still they're able to force the distance even against NRG Academy. They'll lose pistols and even a bonus, and SRB will still be able to force an overtime. Now, SAD holding it down, haunt thrown to check out B. They're suspicious. SRB being marked. That is the opening kill going to Satellite. Traded though, SRB, you gotta get moving. It's 10 seconds. They've made the space, and now they have to set up. They have to protect this planter. They'll do so with the smoke, and Pain is on the other side looking in, and they're all ready to greet them, and Smoke's not gonna waste any time as SRB opens up our Lotus with a pistol.
Sierra and Roy have talked about how the battle of the IGLs are going to be super important in this game as well. A BO5, something that's fairly new for somebody like Welly as well, to have a Nicole into a BO5. But yet, I still really like what we saw here from both of the IGLs and what they were calling. So for the cut noise for SRB, fake towards the A side, but then for SAD to just hold as long as they could and say, look, we still have our wall. We don't have to overcommit towards fighting towards that B side yet, and we could flood retake into the refight. Didn't pan out in their favor in the end of at the end of the day because SRB had better weapons, but at least they still stayed calm and collected in the pistol round, which is nice to see going into BO5.
Very good resistance from SAD. Now it's just good use of the utility. High-low, look at this trap play. SRB being exposed. The Marshall did not pierce enough there for Smoke, but it's the power of friendship and the layers of SRB that you have to peel back. SAD, though, it was a nice attempt in that eco to try and wrestle against SRB, but still converted in the end to SRB.
Yeah, so we see the plan from SAD at the SAD Esports at the beginning, right? They were looking to play the information game and then just go for stacks and flood retakes because the pistol round with the util that they have would allow for them to do that. Now this is where it gets important. When you get into these gun rounds, you cannot give the same type of space as SRB has just gone in the last 2 rounds. So you have to contest for some lanes. So it starts up here on the A side where it's perfect to actually have Smoke to look out first because he could TP away from all the flood util to try to fight towards the A main.
Oh, body shot, yeah, against that armor. Smoke is quick to disengage. He is not greedy in trade after trade. SRB can never get momentum going even with these first bloods. Losing Satellite to your main duelist, you won't be able to explode into the site. And when you got a lot of hoops to jump through, whether it's the thorns of this Vise or whatever could be waiting for you, we'll see how SRB are going to navigate this.
It's nice though. You always see this tandem duo fight. Oh, that was a little bit unfortunate. I think they were expecting for the wall to come up, at least the Viper wall to come up on the defensive side so that Exa could jump and bait that wall. But now that might force the hand here of SRB to just try to finish towards C, where they already have 2 players here from SAD.
Xander has made his way into the site and he has a paranoia and wants to wait for the team to follow through so they can fight in a leverage position. I'm worried about SAD maybe opening this B-Link door. It'll be about timing here for Welly as that IGL makes that call. SRB an almost standstill. Even that Vise Flash from Zaj, if they wanted to fight, it's who's going to be pulling the trigger first. A chess match. The pawns get into position. The elbow spotted there from Smoke. Not a single shot from SAD. In response, the patience is there. The plant seems to be able to go through. Now that B-Link door is open, Welly's starting to get active. This is where the pressure is starting to mount. SAD tried to utilize Zaj there, and every angle that SAD has taken has been shut down. The paranoia from Paint did not even reach SRB or enough to really shake them. Because right now, the post plant seems to be ironclad. You got a high-low, Paint on the approach. Worst case scenario, Paint will have a lot to try and overcome, and Nature will confirm the bonus.
Well, a huge answer back from SRB in the mid round. That was a 3 versus 4. Then all 3 of them stayed alive when they had to overcommit and just count on their luck to win the Seaside fight for Shopfire Belgian Black. Because again, the game plan for SAD was actually quite nice. They still try to take down the tandem work that Smoke and Exa likes to do towards the A side as well. I talked about how Exa is final boss on the A side lurks, but in the last couple of matches, they have been doing a lot of the Smoke TP, Exa take the space, and then punish the players that are not paying attention to those lanes. And Exa got a nice first blood out of that. At the end of the day, it comes down here to SRB still staying very tight-knit and good mechanically to trade off with each other and play off of each other in the post plant that allows for them to get a nice bonus round and put SAD back into another eco.
Smoke has the outlaw this time and could be absolutely feasting as he will be in rubble. You have more of a safer Exa lurk as SRB are still noting those tendencies of where this Visewell is going to be. Like you pointed out, it was at B main last time. Wonder if it's going to swap over to C right now. SRB not encountering as much of a pushback from SAD. They are on the lookout for that trap play they saw on SAD's last eco, but it's going to be a completely free right side of the map.
Just a gamble that they had. You see the flash being placed at the same spot as the pistol round for SAD Esports. They're hoping for a tapped orb, go for a trap play because Satellite's only 2 orbs away from getting his ult. So if they wanted to play a little bit more safer SRB for that round, then SAD would be ready to trap in that spot. End of the day, though, it's a plant towards the A site, and it should be still an easy round for SRB.
Yeah, SAD went for the ultimate wraparound to give up the site. SRB being proactive, not spotting anyone through the defender's spawn. So staircase, flank, these are all threats. SRB huddled down behind the scope. Smoke will confirm one. Knows there's trouble in front. SAD still rotating around, and SRB are on the lookout. They are watching every side as the pistols try to poke and prod. Paint confirms too, and that's not too bad, forcing SRB to take a seat, but at the end, it's a 4-round win streak that continues.
And even better than that is for SRB, when Satellite has 1 HP remaining, ideally you wanted him to have more HP to start hunting for kills so to get the showstopper in this round, especially going to Vita the Delita with an operator this round as well on the defense. Now with that 1 HP, he picks up the last 2 kills as he baits his teammates in a good way, because it allows for them to get a huge piece of util to play against this other gun round of SAD Esports. This might give a chance here for SRB to run away with a 6-0 scoreline if they could actually topple the op that's currently being set up towards the A side line.
Early op 2 from Smoke, and you know exactly what he could do with it. They like to switch up these 4-1 lurks, focusing on the perimeter. Showstopper, Satellite. Oh, the splash! No, not getting Zaj, but still forcing him into the line of sight of Xander. The opening kill not traded this time. SAD will be just waiting. Xander at 11 HP. No one is turning around from him. SAD are focused more on the retake. And Smoke is pointing out that Omen did not teleport towards their spawn. They still have no idea. Now SAD are starting to panic. And Pain, he's paving his way. Xander gets 3. SRB starting to panic, but Clock, the time is on their side, and Xander is really not pushing until this moment. Vita will find him, but that took so much time to dislodge that flanker that SAD are just gonna save.
That was such a huge play by Xander. I think it was praised multiple times from casting duos to analyst desk in the past few days of how good he's been just as a smoke anchor for SRB. But this time it was actually a playmaker, getting on top of the wall to actually get the confirmed kill for paint onto the site rather, and then is able to TP out into the spawn all the way from the C site link to get a double kill on top of that as well. That does not give a chance here for SAT Esports to flood back into the site. And it looks like a very good run. And sorry, it was Zash that was actually playing that Vice inside that A side that got toppled down by that Xander kill. But yeah, this is such an important timeout coming through here for SAT Esports, because as much as we talk about how good SRB has been on this map of Lotus, what we're currently seeing today in this matchup against SAD is also still brand new. All these plays that are being drafted out so far by SRB has not been like the most common thing coming out from Shopify in the last few matches that they played on Lotus. So props here as well to Effie's and to Odorous on the amount of work that they're putting into this BO5.
Yeah, you see kind of this level of depth from SRB, usually deeper into a series, and usually Lotus is deeper into that series. And Xander, the way he's flanking all the time, that's usually his style when he's playing on Haven. And to bring this out on Lotus this early, like teleporting into their spawn, is pretty nuts. And sad, we're just hoping to ignore it, but the problem was still in their side in the end. And it was an investment for SRB, you know, the showstopper, despite not getting the direct kill, it still fed them a kill as Aj just jumped out into SRB. So if SRB can keep puppeteering SAD into the positions that they want, these have been some pretty favorable fights for SRB the last 2 rounds without a trade necessarily for SRB. Vita, though, with the defensive off, Smoke already getting out of dodge, but can't say the same about Satellite.
Smoke actually stayed there for a split second more. He would have probably gotten that kill onto Vita, but it is indeed a first blood scored by SAD Esports. I was just about to say as well, because of the timeout from SAD, and also because Vita shot the op in the previous round, they knew what they were up against here for SRB going into this round number 6. So the game plan was just to go head to head against Vita and Smoke, and hopefully for SRB to start off with the first blood. But it's actually another disadvantageous position for SRB going into the round.
Vita was a difference maker on Pearl. When he has a sniper in hand, you have to try and mark him at all times. That'll be the mind games between him and Smoke. So now the delay is SRB. Sometimes like to teleport Xander in, but it's a fake this time. Sad know of it. They may just have to clear this corner real quick. They'll have the protection of the smoke, but this B-Link door is causing some panic. But SRB, they lock in, they say tunnel, but just that opening kill, they kind of inspired them to go in, and Welly found his moment to strike, and here is the sandwich, the pain sandwich at that. Sad looking to get on the board, finally ending that 5-round win streak.
Big round by Pain. And of course, it comes down to SAT Esports on the rotate across as well to finally add an extra body as they open up the revolving door, not just having Welly solo tap in that door. And it allowed for here Paint to get a nice little combo with Welly for them to open the door and get the picks on SRB, trying to go for a fast pivot on that C side again. And Xander, look at that. Another opening play that he makes here on the top of that boxes to overlook the C site. But it was just a reaction from SAT right after, because there was no pressure from SRB in front of the B site that allowed for them to move in quickly.
Tough too. Like the Nightfall didn't get to, SRB didn't get to materialize their plan. And now I wonder, is Exa going to adjust to try and give them a B lurk so that this door doesn't continue to be a lethal threat to their C approach? Because the delays from the Vi's have been fantastic. Vita pushed off the angles, still stepping forth, being now heard. 2 ops are still in the equation, but wait a minute, Welly, oh, he's gonna maybe play it in cover a bit safer, but that could have been a big moment for him.
Now the question marks are being placed around the map though, because you are trying to find information in front of that B site. You're forced to fall back, and also SRB has already tapped the door on the A site early in the round. So right now SAT, they're gonna have to start using a lot of util to start re-clearing space, or at least this could be a perfect fake being sold right now by SRB on that C side line. Already 2 players. You hear the TP falling back. You spot Vita at this point too. That might call the repivot towards the A site once again.
Haven't gotten the paranoia out of Paint though, so SRB not fully satisfied with this approach, but Exa and Smoke, they gotta make magic happen, and Smoke is lost on how to respond to who took out his teammate on this A push. So now trying to follow through against Welly, who's been the B anchor in the past. Full util available. The Seas may have caught this duelist by surprise. The Haunt is thrown, the Boombot to suppress. 10 seconds left. SRB going for the plant, and Sadar smoked off the angle. So a moment to breathe for SRB in a 4v5 post plant. Smoke evens up the odds, but Pain lines it up, gets the op down. And Sad, now they have just opened the door to coming back into this round. Vita's at 9 HP. The Nightfall leads Welly and the rest into the charge. Paranoia as well. Satellite is marked. He'll hold it down into the trenches as Xander gets another 3K.
My God, SRB and his post plan in lower numbers are looking really good here. Sad, again, had a great read. They pushed everybody into the right spots. It's just because SRB pushed them back to enforce them to turtle. Look at those lines at that replay. 2 players anchored up towards C, 2 players anchored up towards the A side. It allows for them to finish towards this B side. Even if they lose Exa in the process, it still gives them enough time to set up here in the post plant scenario to fight against the rotates across. So Sad, man, they have to turn up the tempo a little bit more in terms of being confident on holding angles and staying in those spots so that they don't get caught into these scenarios where they have to retake it to different areas with no map control.
And having a one-sided op, or actually Vita now has one too, you cannot let Smoke go uncontested here, because then you have to invest so much more util to pressure that op off the line, because more often than not, Smoke is not going to miss that shot. And he's even getting value off Marshals and Outlaw. He converts a kill every round, the scoped weapon in hand. This breakable door, though, has been an issue for SRB to cross. They know that there's been some trap plays here in the past. Now trying to create that chaos. SRB carefully crossing over, using their Viper's wall to stop that line of sight. But as it comes down, the dominoes come crashing down. Vita with the pick. Exa will not take this laying down. But this does pave the way for a B plant if this planter can get out safely, which thanks to that Omen smoke, they will, and the Viper's pit will reinforce.
Pain has no Omen smokes right now either, so he can't smoke himself out to try to flank towards that front B site. So the other two have to start activating a little bit more. And actually, with smoke falling, that gives a window. Look at the lurk coming out from Paint. They're going to try to find this time in a move with the Vice ult to flood back inside this pit.
Just going to have to stick it through. They will stand united, and then they will fall together as well. Anything off the Haunt, Paranoia, SRB being shaken. Let's see if their shell can maintain. The shot could have closed. You can't defuse in front of them, but Paint will paint the walls. But at 5 HP, Exa will just be better. And that was so scary. They were able to turtle up like that and still defend.
At the end of the day, the scoreline, I think, unfortunately, doesn't give justice as how good Sad is playing this defensive line. They're doing such a great job to contest SRB at the very beginning of these rounds, but in the post-plant scenarios, it's tough for them to retake in the end. Look at how they actually went for the Vice ult and then tried to flood in, but then all 3 players of SRB held up on the top of heaven because nobody was able to rotate on that side from the top of CT to really move into a B spot. So SRB had 3 players inside the pit. They could just play with their pistols as well inside the pit. If people are going to try to walk in, they're going to get DK'd. And now, yeah, they're changing the tempo. Look at that from Vita. A nice little attempt, but he gets swatted out from midair right away.
And the spacing, too, to almost predict that this was going to happen. Knowing the showstopper could have been a play, and even then, desperation from Sad. As Xander has something else up their sleeve. That won't be the only opportunity Sad go for, but jumping out, Satellite, I mean, what a Paranoia too, thrown out. Sad tried to hinder SRB, thinking they had a sense of safety to leave after that pick, but only Satellite falls, and SRB looking like they could confirm another round.
Yeah, this is the first time now for me, and at least in my eyes, that I see SRB taking a little bit of a step ahead into the conditioning of what SAD Esports was trying to do here on their eco. Because they've been opening consistently here, Smoke and Exit towards the A side. You saw here that Vito was trying to go for that trap play, at least trying to catch them off guard by going for the solo play to satchel right into the rocks to try to get a kill at the entrance of the A main. But instead, they waited out towards the spawn. They get the punished, and then they fight back here and take full control of the A Rubble side. So yeah, SRB 8-1 scoreline. You're starting to see also the reason why SRB are unstoppable here on this very map, because every single thing that they're coming out with in terms of their attack side has always been very good on Lotus.
And I mean, just last night, we witnessed SRB winning this map 13-1. They've closed out a lot of these pivotal lower bracket series on Lotus. And Smokey's here to play. And it's taken a lot out of Sad Arsenal to make this guy sweat. You can see it in his cams. I mean, this guy's not even blinking. SRB very comfortable at how they're not only able to absorb Sad's pressure, but to enact their own script. Paranoia out, Paint will teleport out as well. The Vise Wall will create even more delay on this side of the map. Smoke will try to open up opportunities on the other side. See how SRB are gonna try and trigger this wall if they can do so safely.
Yeah, that's the name right now from SRB's side. Are they going to try to call to bait the wall here on that C side, because they're adding a little bit more for VCT Esports to turn it all up here, expecting that an SRB is going to finish over on C. But after this, Paladin's going to come up towards that front B main line. Then maybe you could start seeing that that wall getting baited out.
Yeah, thankfully you have Smoke at B, so you're not going to get backstabbed, not this time. And using the Xander ult to be really close within the site, he's going to stick it, and SRB flood in behind him. And it takes an army to take down Sad. But it's still another C plant. Sad on the other side of Vita with a showstopper, waiting for these pieces to get in position. Welly is still on his way, and Vita doesn't want to waste any time after hearing the planter in the backline. Hits, Sad, advance. And they'll even do so with Pain getting a double kill. SRB's post plane is all up to the lurk, and the defuse is just going to go through in front of his eyes, and the shot needs to happen here and now, and he gets it done. But Sad have time now that the defuse is halfway. Whew, that came down to the wire.
That was so close. Pain almost fell asleep at the wheel as well, because that barrel of the Dodo Fuss was showing out when Smoke was moving up towards that ramp, yet he never reacted to it. But thankfully was able to trade that towards the end to get the defuse. But that becomes a nice retake in the end for VCT Esports, because for me, it looked like there was a little bit of a missed time from SRB when they were executing towards that C side. Usually you want to mask the Omen TP through the Nightfall, yet somehow Xander still sticks it and still gets a pick before they overtake the site. But as you said, Vita wanted to be a little bit more quicker because he found a timing. Gets a couple of openers with Pain on the flood back, which allows here a 2v1 in the end. So I like that.
Pont and Xander, these close teleports to just kind of act as a pseudo duelist. Take that space quickly. Boombot revealing how close SRB are on top of the orb tap. And of course, you're going to have Zaj that can call out if B will be the commit. He has a judge to try and suppress that. Satellite will be on his way, and Zaj has an unfamiliar neighbor and addresses one problem at a time, but the showstopper, nothing the judge can do against that. A quick plant. The Viper's pit from Pain at C will not have value this time. 2 versus 2 as the door opens. Pain unleashes the paranoia of nature. Quicker to the trigger, as quick as lightning. As SRB's post plant, will it maintain? They have the man advantage. Paranoia just to try and disrupt, but you, SRB, look as focused as ever. Welly steps into the arena in the midst of 3 players on the perimeter. And he still has to discover where they are, even with the isolation. Xander's shooting a lot of bodies. He is heating up.
I mean, he's been heating up this whole tournament as well. In the last victories that SRB has gotten since this lower bracket, Xander has always been at the top of the scoreboard. So yeah, as much as we're praising how good Smoke and Exa is, for example, for SRB, Xander has sort of gone under the radar in terms of players to talk about when we're pre-pressing these matches, right? We always talk about the big ops and like the entries that young fraggers could have, but the experience here that Xander brings to the table in these playoff moments has always been such a huge X factor for SRB in this stage number 3. So yeah, currently at 17-4, almost a nice little pick. Well, actually it did hit him full. Zaj only has 10 HP remaining, so at least they have the information that Smokey's leading towards that C site first. That could allow potentially Sad to take a little bit more space towards A instead and punish Exa. But yeah, this is a tough round for Sad to take, right? Despite them winning that round in round number 10, they lose this one here. They're back on an eco because their money wasn't great.
After spotting smoke, they thought it was another 4-1. Sad started rotating it to A, and this completely left Zaj and friends out to dry when they already took so much damage. Now the Nightfall, I mean, Nature's fighting his own demons over here, and he is winning, sending Sad 6 feet under, basically on his own, a 3K. But Sad only have paint left, and it ends up being a flawless and a 10-2 half, basically flawless there too.
Definitely seeing SRB being a lot cleaner here in the last couple of rounds as well. Where I was mentioning before, the scoreline didn't really give SAD Esports any real justice into the gameplay so far of that first half. It was those retakes attempted by SAD that didn't really pay out in their favor when they were trying to fight the defensive side. Hopefully they have a better chance here on the attack, but SRB, they're well primed here to close out this first map. Again, looking at the BO5, Lotus being picked by SRB was basically going to be, at least for a lot of fans, looking at this matchup from the outside in, an easy victory for the first map to kick things off into BO5. But I think later on, once we start getting into that third map, fourth map potentially, that's where, as SAD for me, could probably bring this back and maybe push this into a 5-mapper.
The conditioning that SRB have been doing off of smoke has really caught SAD for a loop. The Prowler took a bite out of someone to seize to force SAD back. We're happy to just know that the Fade is in the middle of the map. Getting eyes now. Payne is looking to see what are the numbers on the right side of the map. What is looking like the best opportunity here for SAD, as this is a must-win pistol, or we might as well just think about map 2.
And so far, though, I'm liking how SAD is moving around the map too. Audio cues, baiting the noise, trying to see if players are going to peek out. They could trade off each other right away. They're looking for like even Vice flashes as they open up the door to see if they could contest onto Mound. Have that insert of the alert from Payne that opens up a first blood once again for a SAD Esports against SRB. And look at that, it forces to rotate out from Xander. That gives a chance now for SAD to open up the C site, freely take it, and force a flood retake from SRB, or a forced retake in the end.
Xander has nothing in his arsenal. He's just gonna face this head on, and Satellite is smoked off. They couldn't even be a duo. Xander goes 1 for 1. It's not too bad. Nature will trickle in as well. At the end, SRB regroup, but SAD haven't planted. Maybe SRB can prevent this. They are low. They're going to force the issue, and Vita is an issue. He's already gotten 3. Payne with the other 2. SAD against all odds. They will get the pistol.
Great pistol round for SAD in the end, but somehow I'm quite surprised of how long Xander stayed alive on the top of that pillar. He finds his timing by walking through on top of the ramp. Nobody's checking his spots, and because of that single position, he could actually call here for his team that nobody's pushing out towards spawn, so the others could actually knife out, start rotating a little bit more quickly, so they could actually try to catch SAD Esports off guard. But unfortunately, Xander couldn't get more than 1, which still gave SAD a huge player's advantage on that pulse plant and allowed for them to sub the crossfire and the victory in the end for SAD to potentially, hopefully, come back here in the second half with a great start on the pistol. You see that the buy in the second round is actually very costly. An Outlaw, a Vandal, trying to get their early round pressure against SRB, but SRB are not showing their hand here of where their stack could potentially be on this map.
Xander's fearless. I mean, 2 Prowlers sent his way, and he was still jump peeking, and a bulk of Welly's kills have been on this Guardian. That B-Link play was a huge round for SAD, and it forced SRB to have to adjust their game plan to react to Welly, but Smoke is as clean as ever. Payne removed from the lurk. The commit is clear. SAD checked the close corner with the boom bot. Now it's time to send Vita in, or even Paint, but doing so carefully. Flash, Xander, gonna be relentless. He's gonna stick to it. He's smoked off. You're seeing Smoke has open sight lines to try and see if he can catch someone crossing, but Vita will best him with the Outlaw. SRB had equal numbers until this point. If they can get close enough, maybe the classics at a right-click range could be impactful. But SAD are going to make sure that they are not going to be at arm's reach. Oh, the double shot. Vita gets another with the Outlaw. SRB are just going to run headfirst into this brute force against the offense because time is of the essence. And SAD will still bring 2 weapons into the bonus.
Incredible round by Vita, despite the eco from SRB. He still did a great job making sure here that SAD Esports doesn't lose that many bodies into the close plant on that C side until, of course, Satellite gets that double kill in the end. But look at that, just getting that first little sliver of a line for that pick onto Smoke, then that second right there as he satchels up on that C boxes was quite nice. You force SAD Esports to use a lot of util to fight for map control because Smoke got the first pick without really spotting the other players on the A side line. It comes to show here that SAD Esports is still making sure that they're dotting their I's, crossing their T's here when they're executing and scaling up here on the lanes of the map.
Smoke making sure to get an outlaw to contest the other sniper. But not doing so on the angle you would have expected Smoke to initially hold. Gonna let the majority of SRB address the Rebel fight that has always gone pretty back and forth. Nature, it's already tagged up down to 10 HP, so they have to play safer. Maybe blood in the water. That's sad. Can sense and move forward with trying to get into tree. The Prowler, the pillars are getting into position. Nature will watch the entry as Xander takes to the staircase. SRB on the approach. Vita though fallen. Xander from the staircase will trip up SAD on their progression to get a plant. And this is big. SAD needed to maintain this momentum. You can't afford any rounds against SRB. There's such a gap in the score. And Zaj is on fire. Try and get SAD back into a comfortable position. Welly will calm down. They stay composed, and SAD retaliate to get a plant down.
Spike planted.
1v3 is going to be hard against Smoke, though. For Smoke to take, actually.
Oh, second shot missing, but also Zaj didn't even get shot that round, so the armor was still good enough. SAD, though, I like that when they get pressed, they don't panic too much. And Welly has talked in interviews in the past that sometimes the majority of the timeouts are about managing the emotions and talking to their head coach to get everything, the panic under control. Because Valorant a lot of times is about confidence and not hesitating, because those SRB's not going to give you those windows to hesitate in. So SAD get that round, but it always costs them a lot of bodies, though.
Nice to see that Xander still has a very deep pocket in his backpack, because that was a beautiful two-piece that he's gotten. He tried to go for a punish early this round for SAD Esports as they were trying to get orb control on the defensive side.
Such a risk, so aggressive for SRB. I mean, to go and grab that orb in front of SAD, there was so much trust in Smoke. But it all goes up in smoke at this point. SAD step forth into tree, Boombot, see if Satellite and Smoke can work together. But hey, Smoke is kind of being a nuisance. SAD will have to address it at some point, not knowing what other defenders could be in their way, and Vita just goes flying. Xander's on the flank. SAD can ignore that for now. They got a plant. Satellite's got a dancer in front of him. Nonetheless, Satellite will no longer be part of that tango. SAD still have 3 left.
That's so unlucky too, because that technically in any other day for Satellite, that's an easy 2-piece because nobody expected him on the site. He had free range, free crosshair placement on the 2 players swinging out, not ready, not clearing with their angles. Yet unfortunately, he whiffs a couple of shots, which puts Xander in a tough position here in a 1 versus 3. That could have been a 1 versus 1, for example, if Satellite did land those 2 shots with the Sheriffs. So it would have been an important round for SRB as they had their own eco on this round. But Vita, man, the way that he's moving around that map, playing with a lot of confidence. Look at this little right click, making sure here that he gets his showstopper confirmed for the next round. And yeah, indeed, of course, a super important timeout coming up as well. Money's finally right for the side of SRB after losing their bonus as well, or their buy round against SAD Esports bonus as well. So the tables have turned this time around where SAD Esports has good control here of the attack side. But look at the investment that SRB brings in for this round. An Odin, an Op, and also Xander. Again, I talked about a deep backpack, didn't talk about his KDA, currently now at 21-10 after the pick on that last round. So super important here to leverage that star player of Smoke to lock down the lane so far. If you're looking at it, at least from this timeout, Lemon Kiwi, there's potentially like, okay, maybe he's going to place a TP, they break the door and he has a line to fight towards Rubble, or he goes for the TP and that line for that pick in front of that B lane, B main side. So it allows here for SRB throughout this timeout to be a little bit more aggro if they want to on the A side Rubble control, or just to play a simple like a 1-1-2-2 and really fight in front of this B site.
The timeouts from SRB have always been valuable. I think about the Haven map against NRG. SRB were down 0-7 in the first half. We're able to still make a 7-5 half after that timeout. Even the second timeout near the end of the series, forcing overtime, they got thrifty after the timeout. Like, SRB, this is their lock-in moment. But you also don't want to face... You don't want to look Vita right in the face with a showstopper. It's going to be pretty dangerous, and Vita senses trouble ahead and he's quick to just satchel in. Someone's got to stop this guy. He is heating up. SRB are trapped in tree, and the Odin is just louder. It's prouder, and SRB will turtle up, but now they're surrounded and conquered. As Sad dislodged. SRB from this power position, 2 left on the other side. Paranoia not going to be used yet from Xander, and you missed it. What a reposition from Welly. Catches SRB off guard. The plant goes through, and the hopes of Satellite to take this round to stop the streak are starting to dim.
That was such a well-drafted round for both of the teams. I have to tip my hat off for the opening for both SRB and SAD. The way that you're opening the door and prowling to make sure that there's no rubble control so that Smoke can just solely focus on trying to get a pick behind the Viper wall. The hand of Welly came through the Viper wall, but unfortunately he didn't go for the shot. Now forced to try to take down at least a showstopper from Vita. What does Vita do? He doesn't panic when the shot misses. He's not turning around to get the showstopper baited out. He actually fully takes control of the A main side towards that back site of the A site, so they keep the 2 players of SRB contained inside tree, open the door and just crunch it on both sides, and then easily overtake the site after in numbers, leaving unfortunately SRB on a 3 versus 1. You have no choice but to save the weapon, and now you're seeing 5 unanswered rounds from SAD going into the next round. SAD are in a prime spot here. We thought that this was going to be a done deal for SRB with how dominant things have been looking for Shopify on the attack side in the first half. But man, SAD Esports, they're currently building this second half as if they're about to just win it all.
Just to do your homework, that Nature is a proficient Odin enjoyer, okay? And Sad knew that not just funnel in to his barrel, find a way around and then through. Vita, check the close corner. Xander with a judge could still do a lot of damage, but he is hit by the Nightfall, so he's a bit worried about being overwhelmed, maybe smoked off from Satellite. They have both a Paranoia, a Showstopper, a lot to put a stop to SAD in this moment. We're able to cause panic in SRB, evaluate their options. There are no lurks. There's time to clear. And the Showstopper preemptively comes out. A bit impatient from Satellite. He's gonna just take height and still get value. Killing Welly is insane. Trade it out. SAD may be inspired to hit C after all.
I don't know. If they're not forgotten Xander, there you go. That's gonna make things a little bit more easier.
Still getting value, and the judge taken out of his hands forcefully at the last second. That could have been a bloodbath if Xander continued. Playmaker as usual, equal numbers, those stingers.
30 seconds left.
Could brawl really well close range. Snakebite does not prevent the plant, but does corner Zaj. A Nightfall in response. It's thrown from SRB to sacrifice his paint. A big moment for him in the sun. Around the corner. Good timing on the swing. Smoke is watching for the cross.
Teleport's ready.
This is tough. Smoke in a lone wolf yet again, and just waits for the moment to hit the shoulder. And now Paint exposes his position. The Smoke dissipates. What a flick from Smoke!
What a round by Smoke on a 1 versus 2. He's also stayed so patient on the 1 versus 2. Even waited the 15 seconds before the smoke dissipates here from Paint to get that flake on that last kill. Paint had him dead to rights, but unfortunately the whiff gives his position away. And if you miss against Smoke and he has a scope, well, you lost, buddy. But also before that, you also have to tip it once again to Xander. A judge solo with an Omen Smoke. Look at the amount of util that he wasted out from SAD Esports on their first wave. From 1 ult to Paint Shell C's to Razor Vines to everything going out here on that hit attempt from SAD Esports was all dwindled down which gave a chance for SRB to make things happen, to make magic happen on a retake, because Sad didn't have enough delays of util on the post plan. So again, Xander doing his job and Smoke closing that round. SRB are also 2 rounds away of finally closing his first map until Exa falls from a spam through Smoke.
Speaking of Smoke too, he got down to 0 with the op. This is going to be a solo threat on that side, allowing SRB to able to group up on the other 2 sites. Still standing, the pillar, Nature, with a full kit, not wanting to reveal anything yet, but disengaging, gonna let Sad have it. The retake has been strong for SRB, but Vita, he's just better, and he's duels against Satellite. He's been on top. With 33 HP, it's gonna have to take a seat, take a breather.
Planted.
Have Sad watching in main as well. Xander's on his usual flank shenanigans, but SRB are so split from each other, and they have an op trying to retake. Like, this is gonna be tough. But if Sad are gonna overextend out of the site from this, SRB could at least punish.
That's the only thing. Just look for exit kills, because look at the position from Smoke. They already lost full control of the B site with the first 2 players trying to anchor up in the first play from Exa and Satellite, that they already felt that it was a done deal, that they couldn't retake on a 3 versus 5 on that B side. So yes, good at least for Nature to get 1 pop of the overextension from Vita, but that was also in nature of what SAD Esports was trying to do, because Vita, with the way that he just entried for the first 2 kills on that round, allows for him to be 1 orb away of getting a showstopper in the next. So yes, sacrifice that, get the orb. The best you could have is maybe a kill on top of that and stay alive in the next round. But what's most important is zooming out and making sure here that you're focusing on potentially an orb control in this round and a huge showstopper in this current round. So for SRB, if you're not calling a timeout, I'm assuming right now that they understand the win con for SAD Esports on this round. So they are looking for that. Look at the Xander smoke. He's trying to smoke up on that side so they double crowd the vision, because most likely you're going to use the Viper Wall on the attack side as well. And then also they could seize nade and fight for mountain control so that they protect the orbs.
The Haunt does not see that op yet, and Smoke took that forward position to bait off of the one-way smoke. And hilariously enough, there's only been 3 defensive round wins this whole map. 2 from SAD, 1 from SRB. The offenses have been so suffocating to go up against, as Vita kind of plays with his food there. He'll still send Paint forward, Paranoia as well. SAD have made enough space to feel safe enough to plant, as SRB watch like vultures to try and pick SAD apart. Open sight lines, but SAD are on the low ground. Smoke won't be easily able to give haircuts, but here comes the paranoia. SRB flood in. Here's the blitz. Welly can't hold on. SAD can't trade off of each other. It's coming down to Xander, almost getting an ace. And Pain will be the last victim. Even Smoke has to hold off. Nature's gonna go for the defuse. No way! No way! Pain gets away with that.
That is so sad for SRB when Xander did everything that he could in that round, baiting out the showstopper again. The experience that he brings to bait out such big pieces of utility and win cons for the side of SAD gets a 4K, and unfortunately Smoke, who's so good with the operator, misses the single run through on a 1 versus 2. Satellite feeling that somehow, I'm sure he should have probably let go. He probably still had a lot of time to defuse because he's already at half, but just felt that he was already close to defusing anyways. But then unfortunately loses that, and that allows here for SAD to come back in the game, because after that win, look at the economy for SRB right now. It is in shambles. The best they could do is have a sheriff round and try to draft something up from this timeout, but also just to make sure that they could close out the last 2 after that, understanding how SAD Esports, or trying to understand how SAD Esports are currently opening up these rounds.
Both timeouts now gone for SRB. A 10-2 lead that is almost evaporated at this point. And those 2 timeouts coming in within 5 rounds. The only round SRB have won was off of a 1v2 clutch from Smoke that you could argue anybody else would have lost. Like, it took a pretty insane flick from Smoke to clutch that. By the skin of their teeth, SRB are holding on. And yeah, a 4K from Xander. Like, the job is almost done, but Pain, so composed, so resilient in that moment. And a second too late would have been an SRB win and match point.
Unlucky too, it was a smoke that just dissipated as well, so Smoke wasn't ready for that. But yeah, this is definitely a little bit of a draft to try to at least trap into the C side control. Where SAD Esports, they understand there's got to be a stack, there's got to be some aggression coming out somewhere, so they're going to try to hold it back for a bit, try to bait out Util, and they've already baited out the attempt of the trap by just throwing one C's in the front of that mound. And now also capitalizing on these picks.
It's a good start. Prowling into B. SAD. No shots, no response from the SRB defense.
Cover going out.
You wanna be able to bait that reaction.
Blinded.
You already have a pick, but a lot of respect is given to SRB on these lower buys. I mean, a thrifty from SRB is how they even forced overtime against NRG yesterday. So, some significant damage done to Xander. SAD happy to try press the issue after grabbing
30
the
seconds
orb.
left.
If they can get the Viper's Pit online, I mean, that would be the guarantee, but you should be able to clear this. Catch Xander lacking. You could you clean up the kill. SRB retake. It's been not successful so far. Imagine with pistols.
Yeah, it might be a done deal here. It was, again, a little attempt from Xander, currently top fragger for SRB, to just hold his final stand on that mound, but finally, Util is well exercised by the side of SAD Esports to overtake the C site. Now Satellite, the best you could do here is looking to keep doing some econ damage, because the more that they chip, look at the economy on the side of SAD Esports as well. Try to keep it low, as low as possible. Try to continue to force these rebuys, which could continue to increase the percentage here of SRB being able to close out their first map. But man, SAD Esports are only one round away of being able to tie things up here. You know, after that timeout, it's going to be another heavy investment round from SRB to make sure that they lock down all of their win cons, which is why now Smoke continues with the operator. Small shields. Another scenario that if they lose this round here, they're back into another eco. A huge important round needed to be drafted up here by Odorous and by Effies, and you see it right now. The trip is at a different spot. The TP is looking for a front B main line, so it can TP and support on that C side line as well, and Exa if needed to have that pit to kind of combine here the pit with the turret, kind of like a pit and vice wall, so that he keep the C side locked up.
Funny enough, like SRB, last time they went to Lotus against SAD, it was an 8-4 defense for SRB. That was their stronger side. And 5 of those 8 rounds were off of good retakes from SRB. So the fact that this has just been impossible shows that SAD have really done the homework to patch up their previous issues. And to stay composed in such a high stakes match, to come back from 10-2. So insane to say about SAD. It's Welly not getting the orb for the Nightfall, thinking they don't need it. Boom bot, Paranoia, so much resistance out of SRB, but not the kills. That's what they need. As Satellite is hosed down by the Nightfall, still manages to trade. And Smoke makes sure there's no extensions, there's no shenanigans or desperation from SAD. The Viper's Pit comes up, 3 versus 3. Difficult for the Op to try and pierce through that. No Paranoia 2 from Xander. Let to take their time, but I guess he doesn't need it. He just is the hero. The pit comes crashing down. This is SRB hoping to get to match point after forcing such a marathon out of a map that looked like it was going to be a sprint. And Crack intentionally left in this smoke, and Pate patiently waits for Prey to cross. Smoke, but at least adjusts and jumping out to receive. Almost a chance for Smoke to clutch again.
Yeah, actually that smoke was unintentional. That was supposed to block out the whole vision as they're trying to flood back into the A site for Xander and company of SRB. When he was playing so solidly for this whole game so far for Xander, that gap gave a chance, the opener for the enemies, to see who was swinging across. Look how it becomes easy for Pain and Welly to get that line, to get that spray through the boxes as well for that pick, not even allowing here SRB to get the spike at half. And I thought it was going to be a very hard retake already for SRB when they had to play a 3 versus 3 retake with no util left because they're trying to use it to stall on the A side. Yen Xander almost made it possible until his own smoke, unfortunately, was the demise of SRB also in that round, allowing SAD Esports to tie up the game, again forcing SRB into another eco, allowing SAD Esports to be the first one to knock at the door of map point.
And maybe it's a side difference, maybe it's the SRB special. This would be the most SRB thing to happen, but Vita makes sure to cross that finish line for his team and watches the angle. Exa hoping to cut them off. SRB staggered from each other, but with the weapons that they have, they're gonna do their best with what they have. Satellite will be a thorn in their side, and Waterfall, SRB are advancing without him. And Welly is just an absolute unit today. What a step up from him in this second half. Assad have officially taken the lead.
Match point.
And that was something that was prefaced as well by the analyst desk going into this game, where Welly not only recently taking the mantle of IGLing a team like SAD Esports, but also having moments where he's able to pop the hell off in a lot of the matches for SAD Esports throughout their run of this year in 2026. This time having great impact frags to anchor up here on that C site. Again, it was still an eco round for SRB, but they had a timing. They found the gaps. They closed that gap to actually almost surprise here SAD Esports on the post plant positions. That said, comes down, boils down to the last round of regulation. A fight and finally some aggressive control to try to take a main. But look at that. They just stay back inside the smoke for SAD Esports, just waiting to cut noise and contact back into the A line.
For SAD to potentially take one of SRB's best maps out of their pool in a way, in the most hilarious way possible, where we could be in for a long series. Vita just jumps in the midst of the action, waits to pull the trigger. Showstoppers.
No way!
It's so close. 3 HP. Vita has a guardian angel as nature wants to send them all to heaven. Nightfall will rain on the SAD parade, and they will progress no matter what. The spam Vita Zaj cannot afford to take another bullet. And Xander will still hold strong on the other side with a shotgun, hoping to punish any overextensions from SAD. The planter is alone. Welly will try to help with a late Nightfall, but the spike is down, and SRB seconds away from an overtime
30
force.
seconds left.
Maybe a second round in this whole half. Welly, fake door open. SRB already know it. Just have to watch the spike. That's what Smoke's doing with an op. An open angle. But the way that Welly's pathing here could be an issue. It's been some time. Is Smoke gonna adjust? And he does! Great idea. Overtime for map 1.
Yeah, Welly's just looking to get stats here in the last few seconds, because even if he gets the kill, there's 10 seconds left. No way to move into the plant and secure the round for SAD Esports. But securing the round was definitely on Nature and Xander on that round. Somehow the Showstopper not getting the kill into Vita, yet somehow he stays alive on the site, and he almost overtook it. Xander had to be the final stand once again. In the back into a drop where he was already spotted out. 2 players trying to swing out against him. He does some pop damage through the smoke. And now, even before we get into OT, he's at 30 kills. Who is this guy?
Has to go right there. And this is overtime. This is where the pressure is on. And these are moments that SRB can have some mistakes exposed. They're back on their attacking side. This is the 10-2 half that SRB created. Both these teams much stronger on their attacks. It's going to come down to not if the swords can clash, but if the shields, the defenses will be stronger. Oh, a big play from SAD. Paranoia and the Prowlers will force SAD back, not able to follow through on Paint's setup. SRB will scatter. In case Vita will just double satchel at them, because Vita's kind of known to be in your face sometimes. And SRB stuck in spawn.
So a lot of time, though. There's a minute left right now. So the 2 players inserting up on the SRB side, going back into trying to force the hand of the players of SAD Esports to stay towards A, and then they could re-hit towards that C site. But now it's all question marks. Can Exa get this pick onto Zaj in the back of spawn?
Should be a Hail Mary. Zaj, oh, what a crouch, what a kill. Smoke will respond. He's off on his own, and here comes SRB to plant. The cutoff here, breakable door. Timing is everything. You hear the walk, you hear the door open. The window of opportunity gone. Sad will emerge. Maybe a chance for Xander to be the hero once more. Waits patiently at the trigger. But Vita, his resistance is next level. Oh my God, the shots. It's all up to Smoke. 1v2, but 13 seconds. Is he gonna go for kills? Does he go for the plant? He's not safe. Not with that fade. As close as it is. The shot does not connect. And Sad kick off our overtime.
Vita with his satchels has been impressing me this game. And for him to get the timing to just move in and weave through a closing door like his Indiana Jones trying to escape the boulder in the end, he still gets a two-piece into tree and saves that round for Sad. And even the boom bot, I think that he threw, saved him from the shot from Smoke just to delay a little bit more until finally they closed it out on a 2 versus 1 for Sad Esports. But man of the hour again for SRB for me was Xander. A nice pick there onto the rubble side, getting the flash so that Smoke could actually win that fight against Vita, despite the op shot missing. And unfortunately, just not enough. And once again, it's Sad Esports at map point. SRB already coming out with their timeout because, of course, you need it because you're trying to force the second OT if possible, because that just shattered your momentum with what they just did in round number 24.
And to do it on defense, that was also a side that Sad struggled on. They only took 2 rounds there, and it took a timeout for them to really fully craft out that plan. Now SRB, their whole map lives depend on their worst side flourishing. And I mean, the clutch factor has been next level for both these teams. Vita versus Xander. Smoke, not really able to have the time to fully activate there as Welly. He is excited for the potential of Sad to come back into this map on SRB's best map and map pick. As Rebel quickly taken there by Sad.
Not this time. The hand sticks out, but he ain't gonna miss a second time for a Smoke. So a great pair advantage that started. No punish there on Pain. Pain is able to fight for a little bit more, down to 14 HP.
Oh, so Vita is forced into the hands of Satellite. But He's in the executioner at this point, but it's a 4 versus 2 SRB.
Oh no.
You have to seal the deal here. The plant trying to go through. Sad not comfortable at B. The numbers that they have, they'll try to re-clear through, but the op was last marked on this side of the map, and Smoke will not miss. Oh, he gets off the angle as soon as Sad come out.
Yeah, but still there's a gap. So he did the right move here to fall back when Smoke got popped. And now he's just got to contain. So he knows now, can confirm it here, that the 2 players are moving into the A side. He's just got to hold tree for the rest of the team to move forward.
One enemy remains.
Oh, and heard the second tap. Smoke
30 seconds
may have
left.
put the nail in the coffin for this round, because picking up the spike and trying to plant it, Smoke won't guard it from being picked up, but you have Exa that could push. Any angle that you try to plant at is being watched. So defensive rounds won from both sides. After that was the biggest struggle for Sad and SRB throughout Lotus. So overtime continues.
Starting to see here the first cracks under the pressure on the side of Sad Esports, though, as they try to get into the B side, and Zaj was getting hit by Util. He pre-fired the shot to try to break the haunt, misses it, and the haunt actually pings both players from Sad remaining on that B side, which allowed SRB to really sit up now and confirm that round to make sure that they push this into that double OT. So room to breathe for the side of SRB, and an attack side op here for Smoke. The same type of pattern for at least Smoke and Satellite, or sorry, Exa to work towards the A side. But it's the rest of SRB that's trying to bait out the rotates. First Prowler in the front of that B site, but look at the answer back from Sad. Double walking in the front, potentially maybe even trying to swing out through the smoke as well.
Yeah, because if SRB do go A, Tree has been such a huge prio just based on how their Viper's wall has been set up. Trying to slow down the round so that Smoke can get that pick, so that's punish the Sad impatience. Xander's playing his own mind games over at Mound. Spike has been moving towards B, though. The door is going to open. This does sort of expose SRB. Not going to be a reaction. A Sad fall back towards C. Jump up, and it costs Vita's head. First blood for SRB. as they still are at a standstill on how to move forward.
Yeah, SRB are looking to play another one of those rounds where they're going to try to re-hit with 10 seconds remaining. First off, it's potentially just going to be a bait sound towards that seaside. As they get smoked out here, they might
30 seconds
just
left.
try to open up the door and go towards B.
Ain't waiting for the moment carefully. The shots come out. Someone has
Oh my
already
God.
satcheled through. Satellite has earned the showstopper, and it whistles by Paint as he has a better answer for you. 10 seconds left. The plant on B. The bodyguards are in position. Satara around the corner. 4 versus 2. SRB have been able to confirm these before. Pain and Paint against the world. Split up from each other, though. Gonna come down to some pretty big heroics to break the fortress that is SRB on a post plant. Pain in a crossfire and about to bite the bullet. SRB go now to map point, no T.
Going back to the tried and true of a nice, strong attack side for SRB. 20 seconds remaining, and they sell a fake. From Satellite, opening this up, picking up the orb, by the way, on the C mound. Satchels into Waterfall to get the pick and to keep the 3 players over on that C side while they open up the door towards B and hit the site and go for the plant and finish on a 4 versus 2. A big round by Satellite, who's been not playing like to the expectation of somebody like Satellite could be. But that was a huge impact round that allowed SRB to finally regain control a little bit of this map and put themselves finally at map point as well. So SAD Esports is their turn to try to draft something up, to try to force this into another OT, and then it all come down to the mind games and the great calls from Nature and Welly, if it has to come down to a 14-14 scoreline. So this is an important one here for SAD to have a great start in this BL5 lower finals between these two teams.
See if SRB can win a defensive round, though, because that was also a monumental task. And Satellite is not the double satchel in your face type of raid, so not as flashy as Vita, because SRB, I mean, it had to slow it down, playing around smokes op, playing around these 4-1s, really defaulting well around the map, but on defense, went well for SRB to kind of rely on Smoke's picks when he was at the A staircase last time. Different swap up, 2-3 split. Satellite putting the pressure on, nade in, SAD pretty forward into Rubble. The spam is revealing SRB's position, and the Prowler, the Paranoias are putting SRB back as Nature and the rest step into the spotlight and they shine. SRB flawless to take Lotus.
What a way to finish that first map as well, convincingly in a flawless for Shopfire Rebellion Black. But they didn't need Smoker Satellite this time around. They just used their pure grit of firepower to fight the Rubble side and finally close out their first map. But Lemon Kiwi, this is starting to look like a BL5 that maybe some after the map Vita were expecting potentially a 3-0 for SRB. But for Shopify to win this in double, triple OT with the skin of their teeth when they were so strong on Lotus,
and you gotta have some stamina for a series like this, especially after what we saw on Lotus going into overtime after a 10-2 half. But hey, this is the SAD playground. This is their choice, and they've swapped up their comp. I'm excited, man.
Could be a make it or break it for SAD Esports for sure, because it was a marathon on that first map. It went back and forth, and SAD Esports should have had that one. Now you're like, okay, well, it wasn't our map pick anyways. Let's focus on the next map, which is ours. Let's come up with a new comp that could potentially topple down SRB. But if they don't manage to topple this one down, that might give a chance here for SRB to really close things out. So for me, though, if I'm looking at this Lemon Kiwi, I still like the comp from SAD Esports. I do think that Pink going in as a Waylay allows for him to get a little bit better spacing than like the Ray Satchels that he's not necessarily the best of at in my eyes. So we'll see how this is going to pan out for both him and Vita.
Ooh, the double duelist takes out Exa, who really has to adjust. This can be not a great map for the Lurker, but SRB, they try to make do, but also their duelists are having a hard time carving their way in mid. SRB haven't gotten a single kill yet on split, so they've definitely been rattled.
I like this too of how they're placing a defensive wall, how they set up the pistol round for SAD Esports as well. I mean, look at how SRB are getting knocked down one by one. The double push on the A side catches one off guard. They lock down to make sure that they take down the exit lurk on the A side that SRB likes to do. Then they instantly rotate back because they're playing with a neon. So they can actually have 3 players fight for middle control. And then if they ever somehow are forced to retake the site on B, that Viper Wall plus an Omen one-way on new box gives so much good utility here for SAD to rotate back from spawn and from heaven to retake the B side. So a nice little look that they had. We'll see if the Viper Wall has that type of consistency of being thrown in different spots, but already in that second round, it stays back into a default wall.
Just the duos of how SAD were grouping up around the map. And now they got weapons. They can sit back at range, already spamming through the smoke, and the shotgun too is doing work at 3K for Vita. And he doesn't even have to slide into your face. Hey, it won't be flawless, not with Exa on duty, but bird's eye view will take care of that. And a quick start to Split so far.
Yeah, nice to see Exa activate a little bit more though on that second round. He needs that confidence to come up as well. This cannot be an SRB game where Xander is going to be the one that's going to have to pick it up every single round for the team and just drag the team across the finish line for every single one of these maps. So again, this is just an ink round, but still opening up 2 kills like that very quickly for the side of Exa builds that a little bit of that momentum once they get into their rifle round, which is right now. So Nature only with the Guardians, who could have full kit with the team. They're looking to potentially explode here on the top of the A ramp with this cautionary ping that you see. That is just a flash. Sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. I'm kind of just looking back at SAD Split against NRG Academy. They were down 11-2, and SAD came back and won in overtime. So it was a different comp and a different day. Ooh, headshot into Pain, and look how SAD are fearless. They're dashing into this. They're getting revenge for their injured Omen, and it's the injured Omen that has to get the last laugh. Funny enough. SRB getting pushed and spawn. What the heck is this aggression from SAD? They'll try to, and SRB will try to just absorb the space around the map away from that noise.
It's nice too if the little trap play that they had for SAD Esports. It is their bonus round. You're starting to see what they're drafting up with this double duelist. So they have like the bait and switch from the Waylay. You can even throw a saturate next time if you want to for Paint, but it allows Vita to close that gap as Paint throws the paranoia, and then allows for them to just have a little bit more when they're going to flood retake towards this side. I think they're waiting for the flash at least to come back up. No time,
Satellite
no chance.
So much on his plate, and he still finished all of it, mostly. But still, definitely impactful. Zaj, the Vandal, won't be able to keep it. And SRB, despite kind of getting hit in the face so early, they got right back up. It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. And SRB are very familiar with that tug of war they have to play against SAD.
At least he finished the main course right here for Satellite with the mow down on 3 players and leaves Desert for Smoke to build up the Blade Storm. So that's kind of nice for them to stop that bleeding, stop the momentum for SAD Esports with, again, what was really nicely drafted out from the pistol round into the anti-eco. And now it's still good money for SAD. And you're seeing here as well that you're putting the op in the hands of Paint instead, because Satellite, he does like to rifle a lot, especially as a Neon, because he likes to just bring that fight right into your face.
And for Paint to be in ramps with it is kind of interesting. You would think screens would be a safer spot, because if you were to encounter an issue, that up would be dropped to SRB, and Smoke having that in the future will be a boon for SRB. Flash out on the other side. SAD aware of what's on the menu. This encounter in Garage, denies Xander, and man, that double from Pain is beautiful. SRB are brought down to their knees on in a moment where they really outnumbered SAD.
Wait, they might overcook this and push this over on the A line. You're seeing it from the minimap that it's looking so far so good here, because the push from Paint comes in with the op all the way from A main into middle. Yet that might give a chance here for Paint to pick up a rifle if they want to replay the 2v2 onto the A site.
30 seconds left.
But if you're looking back at the 2v2, it looks really good for SRB. You're only having 1 player drop down, which is Smoke, planning it for a heaven. Yeah, they're going to play their ones, but at the same time, it's placed in a prime position to Exa to clutch out the round for the team.
And Vita has to hurry up. Like, Paint is pushing through sewers. It's going to take so much time to even get close to the spike. But all that noise is heard by Exa. So the overcook ended up just being just right for SRB to even things up. 2-2 apiece. It's Paint will ideally like to keep the op, but Exa comes back up these ropes. That's not going to be kept, but did not scope in fast enough. And the op is kept at the end of the day. Good stuff, though, for SRB. They've been good at making adjustments. It's kind of how clean can the map end up being is what I'm curious about for SRB.
Yeah, the pathing was good for SRB to fight towards that B side. They have power numbers as well. That lineup was huge by Paint in the first place, but thankfully, because they had the third player from SRB on top of Raptors, opened up that side, allowed Smoke to get that, at least a attempt of a plant towards that B line to see if anybody was going to peek out, but still win the 2v2 in the end. And the other important thing as well is that they now know that Paint does have the operator quite early in the round, so that will change the approach of how SRB will go into this round. Now you might have to boombot dog, try to figure out where the op could be earlier on, but he avoids it, at least to start for Paint, which could put him in a serious position here in the front of that garage.
Doesn't want to be in the most obvious position. The outlaw could also be just as crucial against an eco. It's already some Sky util here from Nature, who had such an incredible split for SRB side of things when they went up against Core. Such a convincing map for them, 13-8. Small comeback for Core on the other side, but in the end, see if SRB try to make this more one-sided. Sad had the pistol, they had the start. Who will end it is Sad have the read on where SRB are going to be pushing into.
Call is huge from Willie, anticipating the re-hit towards the A side, so he gambles to rotate of the ones that have pistols to play towards A and for the op to solo take B.
Wexa caught in the midst. The wall will stay up, but will not protect them at all. Pistol claims one. These are weapons that these pistols cannot access, though. As SRB will not find a way through, but a way around, but still will re-emerge. As Sad tried to put up a fight, but SRB, they got the better guns in the end of the day, and Paint can just sit there and observe for now.
They have Nature with heal as well, so that's going to be at least that attempt from SAD Esports that almost looked pretty good there. The first blood on that hold from Vita through walls as he's being flashed, but at the end of the day, you saw the positioning from SAD Esports over on the A side. Where that gap was atop of heaven, where Smoke actually took the lane from top middle to go through vents and then get that backstab there on to Pain. Making sure here that they have elevation once again for the actual hit into the A side, and SAD Esports had no more surprise going into the round. Even the flash misses, so that will actually allow for Paint to save his operator into the next round, which is huge here.
After how much SRB have cleared, maybe they still have an idea where he is, but I don't know if you want to poke the bear. Nature's just running his way too, but not going to encounter each other yet. So win streak now for SRB, and this is kind of the SRB special that they can sometimes have weaker pistols, and this is the kind of the momentum that generates in their sales at a point like this. And a round 6 timeout for SAD is earlier than I expected.
They're trying to figure out how they could fully take value of the operator from Paint as well, as they really don't want to let SRB run away with this game so far, but they're realizing as well that Flash Boombot might be like one of the pieces of util in the first place that Satellite and Nature are trying to do. And I also think that from that previous round, when I think it was a Paint smoke on the eco that he threw towards that B-side garage, there was no second layer of SRB trying to re-hit into garage. So that might give an opportunity here to maybe rotate your duelists around, especially if you're playing a Neon, to really try to anchor up towards that spot, and then Paint could re-rotate to a spot where his operator could get a little bit more value. So I'm expecting SAD Esports to be a little bit more proactive going into this round on the defensive side. Whereas for SRB, I just saw a plethora of pings towards that B lane. I think this might just be a slam.
You got a showstopper? Why not? Cosmic Divide, fantastic. The seal in B. See kind of how it'll be angled. And Payne will have a paranoia. We'll see how well he can anchor. I mean, he was one of the clear MVPs for SAD on the previous map. To not the result they wanted. Pretty aggressive angle. Vita pushed off of it. I like this early util from Nature. No assists, but trying to make the space, still marking how close that op is. The fact that it's an op, satellite searches, no targets in sight. The cosmic divide is very far forward. Denies a lot of the space. And wow, you got the pin on top from Exa. Vita will not be able to shake things up before the wall comes up. Sad. I mean, there's so much to try for them to try and pierce through, as the Seekers are also invested. 3 ults out of SRB. No kills quite yet. SAD will not be intimidated, as they are now climbing up the walls and trying to escape with their lives intact. So maybe they will be intimidated. It probably came down to the health pools also at the end.
Yeah, the 3 ops were also very good by SRB to even contain the attempt of SAD Esports stuff flooding back. So as they realized they couldn't get any picks out of it, even the double dash from Paint getting no picks into the front of that billboard, they're like, yep, it's time for us to save our weapons. And the unfortunate thing about it too is that as they were escaping, they were not able to pick up the operator left by Vita. So you see the change of pacing as well from SAD Esports. They wanted to give the op instead onto Vita, so that I'm assuming Vita being more comfortable on that as well. Paint, if you're looking at his past couple of roles, has been playing a lot of like Phoenix or KO, something that rifles with aggression a little bit more. So maybe just not feeling it for the day. That might even change the game plan from SAD on the spot for the second map. And that is the nature of coming out with a brand new composition against SRB as well, right? It's untested for you as well. So you just have to adapt as you go. And to see SRB slowly running away with the attack side once again, this time on split, SAD Esports are going to have to find their footing a little bit earlier than anticipated.
And SAD have shown that they can abandon the op. They did so on Haven. It's not something is a huge core part of their success, the way that it is for Smoke and friends of SRB. And Welly's really talked about in interviews how they really SAD curate their style and their composition around the tempo and the pace they want to play at, which is very fast, very loose, especially when you have Vita, his best agent being the Neon, now accompanied by a Waylay, someone that can match that. Will be really nice. Or usually it's been a lot of the Neon Phoenix from this team. So there's a lot of barking on the other side of Smokes here, but SAD will stick to their positions.
Interesting as well how we're currently playing the defensive side for SAD. Yes, you're using a Viper Wall aggressively to maybe contain and fight towards middle, but that doesn't leave you too much util to hold a hit towards the A side. Thankfully, though, it starts off on B. That allows Paint to get the openers. Wow.
Just the crunch from SAD to walk up, take control of ramps. The timing was really good for SAD. I mean, even just how they extended out of garage to get that initial pick, how they pushed through ramps to finish off the core of SRB. Now it's Nature with no flash, no dog, and Satellite with something, but the backstab could easily just end it before SRB even have a thought. Plant goes through, Satellite Oregon, and watch his back, and oh, deadly instant headshot into Paint. What, a 2v4? That's an uphill battle. One watching garage, too many angles. You still have Heaven too. And that's an angle that would be difficult for SRB to fight in, at least with the numbers that they have. And their positions that they don't have cover in. The Satellite immediately passes away. So up to Nature. With the spike not being in his sight, he won't be able to prevent the inevitable. SAD come in and get the job done.
Very patient. Sorry, because it's played by SAD Esports on that 4 versus 2. They were expecting here, especially after you get the first pick from Satellite onto Paint, I think it was, that some players are probably going to try to go for hero plays. They're just going to try to close and get more spacing onto the initial kill that they've gotten. And SAD to just make sure that they stayed put, making sure that they're covering their lanes, also making sure that the next smoke from Pain comes up so he could actually TP and smoke and get information for the rest of the flood to come through. And thankfully, despite him using that util, it wasn't really needed because SRB still ended up walking into the crosshair of their opponents. Allowed here SAD to close this out. Vita starting off the round being wall banged down to 18 HP though.
Yeah. Be able to go and rejoin Welly for some heals, but is that a moment to put the pedal to the metal? Especially with how Vito likes to play really fast and in your face. He kind of scaled down ramps and that proactivity you wanted to see out of Sad, and despite Vita taking such early
No
damage,
way.
he's faced it. It's costing a hemorrhage. SRB flashed and had some leverage in that fight, and Sad still survived. Not only that, they're thriving. They have the spike down.
It's whenever nature is trying to throw that flash. I don't know if somehow it goes over for an A ramp for Smoke to get a pick, but man, did Vita take full advantage of that to just slide tackle that kill and drop in the spike, allowing SAD Esports to overtake the round and forcing the last two players of Smoke and Ixa to save their weapons. I gotta say, it's quite interesting how SAD are approaching the defensive lines. I wanted to once again underline 2 rounds ago where they threw the aggressive Viper wall down
30
towards
seconds
middle.
left.
Not enough util to hold an A side push, yet you just have Zaj holding the front ramp and getting 2 kills into that one. And I think SRB, if they're realizing the wall coming down on that mid line again, they might be able to start to default a little bit more and finish up towards that A side, which they kind of did this round here, but
10
unfortunately
seconds
they
left.
lost the rest of their players on middle.
Even just based on Lotus, both these teams, especially SRB, like to arm wrestle so on their attack and kind of draw out as much util. They're in SRB. It takes blood, sweat, and tears to take space, and especially on this map, you haven't successfully been able to get into ramps, into A maybe more than once. B garage is a lot of those fights have gone Sad's way, and middle. I mean, the first attempt from SRB had both their duelists dead in the water. So it's despite that nice little 4-round win streak from SRB, I still feel like SAD are in full control.
Agreed, and I think that's why we have this timeout early from SRB as well. They've lost grasp of the control of the first half when he strung in here the rounds 3 to 6, getting 4 in a row. But I will have to go back to what you were mentioning here, Lemon Kiwi. I think when it came down to that previous round where Smoke did get the wall bang onto Vita, you have to expect somebody to fall back, or for that player to fall back and for the heal to come up. So that wastes time there. And as you do so, and you've already realized where well, he's kind of playing the early rounds, if you're dogging and flashing for information, then that should leave a couple of gaps here for you to overtake over on that A side. Maybe not necessarily in space, but at least in power of numbers against anchored players, right? So maybe that's something that could be in conversation from Effie's with his team, for them to be a little bit more proactive or aggressive and confident on what they're currently displacing around the map when they're defaulting on their side, on their attack.
See if SRB can even safely cross into ramps. It seems like as soon as they even play through a main, Zaj or someone is in their face. SRB have to be ready to react at a moment's notice. How about this? Satter just walking it down main. Smoke has found his pick into ramps, and that'll just draw SRB to that side of the map. Sad already know what the counter will be. And now it's this kind of chess match of pieces moving around the map. Sad thinking it can predict the next move, but SRB don't want to be that obvious.
They had to stall too. We were talking about the confidence after getting first picks, but they were already stalled by the smoke from Pain as well. So as they're being slowed down at that spot, they also realize the aggression from Sat at the beginning of the round towards middle. It gives him a chance to cut noise and to contact play up now into middle.
Storm 2 from Smoke. Needing to try and take that space a bit faster, take advantage of these moments of silence where you're ahead of the game against Sad. After the timeout, have SRB really downloaded the plan? Well, you've lost Satellite. You're still trying to get the plant down. Sad are trying to ruffle some feathers here on the high ground. SRB are on watch, trying to utilize that cover, and Smoke with an angle. He's got knives and cutlery in tow. But Sad, you got some fight back. They've got some grit, but they also only have 10 HP on their main duelist. Zaj gets tagged too, both split from each other. And it's going to be hard to approach SRB when they're nested up like this. So some nice macro here from SRB after that timeout to get back on their feet.
Yeah. And that side Esports going with a heavy gamble, as we mentioned before at the beginning of the round, by having so much aggression into middle, 0 information and question marks onto the B main, because I think it was like a 4-1 even at the start. 4 on middle, 1 onto the A ramp. So when you're gambling at that spot, you're like, okay, let's fully commit. They might try to fight towards the A ramp for SRB, and then they create their own question marks around the map. And as they try to retake, they get caught off guard by the inserts that SRB kind of had. You saw a couple of backstab kills coming through from Shopify into the pulse plant. And yeah, that's a nice way to top up the round here and top up the lead back again for SRB, when they've realized right now that what they were trying to cook this round was not necessarily needed, because SAD just overcooked on their side.
Kind of funny how much slower Split has been so far compared to Lotus when you had a chamber up and like kind of the compositions there. SRB, again, not having a raised style of satcheling in your face, especially not against SAD. Nature now is the one opping. See if you can infiltrate. The boombot was already used though, so that won't be the tool to disrespect the pit. Nature has dog and flashes, but SAD, they got the whole classroom. A hail of bullets goes through. The pit comes crashing down. It's a 3K for Smoke, and SRB smile ear to ear.
That is a huge kahunas round for SRB. The disrespect that they have to walk contact into a pit and just dismantle all the X's on middle. It finished up into another 4-1 setup pretty much for the mid round. Again on middle, and SRB just outdueled their opponents. Even Exa getting the last pick onto Pain on a 1v1. That is pure aura for Shopify on that previous round. I also think it breaks the econ, if I'm not mistaken here. It looks like we still have a couple of rifles available and an op for Paint, so I take that back. You still have a little bit of fight in them this time around too, especially with the two big ults that they have from Paint and Welly, and from Vita, to maybe hopefully make this a little bit closer at the end of the half. I mean, especially if they could cycle a couple of these ults from this round into the next, they could be in a comfortable spot.
It reminds me of the SRB versus Core split, where it ended up being a 6-6 half when SRB started on attack, and it all boiled over into a 13-8. Shopify Rebellion, they level up when they get going. So, ooh, the jump spot. Vita, I mean, this is kind of deja vu from Lotus. Won't be making that mistake again. Even Smoke is not someone who's going to be greedy to chase that. Go for the more quality opportunity. The Seeker's going to catch a lot of guns here being marked in mid. SAD don't want to encounter that kind of battle again.
I'm just really intrigued of how they're playing this for SAD. The Seekers had only one cabbage heading towards A main, yet they still put two players to really confirm that spot. So it leaves that gap for middle. The insert from Smoke is there, and he can have another big opportunity to backstab on middle once SRB starts full hitting this B site.
Thankfully, the op isn't going to be on this side. Smoke. This would be a nice angle to have if you had a Smoke that would watch your staircase, and Smoke comes down. SRB being exposed with what a flash. I mean, Settle's the only one that looked away. And SAD hit him right where it hurts. How SAD are able to kind of predict where these SRB pushes are coming from. To have the number, pretty much equal numbers in place, to have such a good fight back, it's not been easy for SRB to identify where these weak sites are.
I feel like there was a missed comm as well from SRB, because Xander actually played a recall Smoke, which would have been perfect for Smoke to get that space in. Of course, we have the privilege of seeing all the 10 players, but that would have been a free kill onto the Sky. But it didn't. He had his bandit out and allowed for the Sky to actually move forward Welly with Pain to just overtake that B site, the B garage, and fight into the main with a beautiful flash. And we're one round away. Explosive round for SRB, right into the A site.
Jesus, and it all funnels them into the grasp of Zaj. A satellite sends Vita packing. Make sure to temper his aggression. SRB, meanwhile, do still get the plant despite the anchor of the Viper looming in screens. There is a Pain flank starting to form as SRB, very suspicious. 2v1 nature will trade. So that threat, that angle is dissipated. SAD's ankles might be shattered here, but they're allowed to cross within the site. And SRB watch at a distance, hoping to just rely on the Xander post plant. He's got 2 stars on that spike. Is it enough to buy time? SAD are not being encountered at all. SRB playing so safe and away from danger until the moment is right. 7-5 half for SRB.
That was the biggest thing too for Nature to group up with Exa to trade that kill onto Pain. If not, that potentially would have definitely been a Set Esports be able to tie the half 6-6. But having that pick on Pain allows for Xander to do his thing as an Astra. Just play the grab well, play the delay, and allow SRB to win off time. Nice little triple swing towards the end too to be able to win all of these fights. Spike not even in a halfway. Xander a little bit more quiet than he was on that first map, but this is where he actually shines. When we talk about SRB having split as their playground is also on the amount of anchoring plays that is very good for both Xander and Exa when it comes down to this map. So Sad Esports, I feel like they understand that and they want to try to topple that right away by double diving right into Xander.
This might be the obvious, but Xander is amazing on the defense. He went 10-1 against Core just on the B site alone. But Sad are a whole different beast, as Xander has to watch his friends back and only so many bullets in the frenzy to stop the blitz. 2 versus 2. Extending out Pain when it wants to get ahead of the game, and Satellite falls. Nature with still a flash, heard on the ropes. Now Clock is against him, but he isolates the 1v1, and Nature flourishes, and SRB take the second pistol.
Oh, that was insane coming out from Nature. The drop down, and I feel like that had to be explicitly the sound cue that he did it on purpose to bait that he went onto the rope and then suddenly walks it up. Why the hell not? Because somehow this game, when you're on ropes, it's still fairly accurate. So you gamble that you're going to be able to win that fight when you're on that rope. Yet Sad Esports gave him enough time to actually get his feet on the top of that rail and to isolate 2 different fights and win that round to clutch it out for SRB. That was a huge round by Nature. And a great start as well on Smoke's Sheriff kill at the entrance of that B site. Now SRB has a chance to really close out this map, but look at this. This is a force buy that you have from Sad Esports after that plant.
How do you stop the storm? Well, you send Smoke in. 2 kills with the Marshall. That's the Smoke special for you. SRB trade blow for blow, and Sad can make it as close as they can after forcing with stingers, but SRB will remain in the driver's seat.
Gamble's gonna hurt as well. No plants, barely any kills. You're seeing Pain. He was about to go for another stinger armor buy, but this might be, I think he might be able to keep the stinger with no armor so he could still have a good util and good weapons into the next round. But yeah, look at Smoke getting so much value on the top of the ramp. So the Vita wall was kind of like a smoke screen for themselves, smoke and mirrors for Sad Esports on the exit, because they would never look back into the ramp. Technically, you should cover it up, but that huge gap that you have between that and the wall, you have an opportunity here for Smoke to just open it up.
There's the flood there from Sad. Good util to try and suppress into screens, but the shotgun there has been heard, and you almost wish Smoke kind of stayed silent there. Sad know now the danger that awaits them. They play too close, the dogs will dance, but it's SRB that is starting to crack the shell in the armor of Sad, leaving Welly out to dry. At least there was a plant. Maybe at close range, the classic could still hurt. Xander, though, will not be touched. 3K for him as well. Double digits for SRB.
That's what you wanted the Stinger round to do here for Sad Esports on the previous round, to just close that gap, play those close battles in the post plant. But they did an incredible job for SRB to stop that at the very beginning. This round, though, it was the Stingers did get their value. They got the 2 picks. They did some good damage into SRB, forcing a couple of buys going into this round as well. So that might be a little bit of a silver lining with that Force glass cannon, or glass Stinger, if I could put it that way, for Vita and Paint. Puts them in a comfortable position for the gun round to also break the econ back onto SRB. But an op comes out for Smoke in this round, trying to play the bait and switch between both Smoke and Satellite in the front of that B garage.
Especially that close, too. Not even going to play the back of C. And this is where Smoke, he is at his most confident on defense. He always gets a ton of first kills. Not to cast or curse it, but these are these walkdowns that contact plays he likes to do. Already hearing the teleport there of Pain. Smoke will stick to his position, keep the ground, but Sad, they're making ground. They've broken ground. They're on the top of B, and only Satellite is there to watch it. And here comes Exa to disrupt at the staircase. He's being careful. He's getting zoned by the snake bite. He still is able to puncture through SAD before they truly got going. And the plant, the spike hasn't even dropped yet. So now a bunch of low HP members. Welly will bring them up. SRB, they sense the weakness. Smoke is now in garage with the op, and SAD are completely surrounded. And they don't even care about the op. They're just going to try and position against it, but there is too many bosses in this lobby for SRB. No good play, no safe space to try and sit at.
I did like the repositioning, unfortunately, of paint in that pulse plant. The execution was beautiful for SAD Esports, though. The TP towards that back of the B site, and also the Vita wall to allow for them to get the top rafters to open up B. But it's the recross. What is a recross out in the open when they have no garage control from the execution? Smoke gets a free kill, opens up the site. Now people have to be afraid and weary of an operator into the B main, so you focus on that. The rest of them could flood from the top of heaven. And then again, just topple down one by one for SAD Esports. They're forcing out the second timeout because, yeah, you've lost grasp now of this whole map. We talked about how SRB are really good on the defensive side. You're starting to even see Xander glow up here in the second half, but it's all around Smoke as well, with how he's unstoppable with marshals, with operators, with anything that he has so far. That does not allow for SAD Esports to really get a good footing on their attack side, especially when their force buy in round number 14 got denied.
Really has been good denials from SRB, from the op that sits at B, the many different ways they fought through there, even A, like through the insane flood, the amount of util that SAD throw in when they just are running it down at A with the super quick Vita style that they like to play around. Even then, SAD are met with some hurdles. So this is quite a gap in the scoreline, but nothing that SAD have never overcome before. They did so even against NRG on this very map. So this is something that this timeout, the last one now used from SAD, this has to be the turning point, or SRB will go to series point.
Wonder if it's a little bit of a split into middle towards the end, but right now it's putting paint inserted on top of ramp to just keep some players on a defense on that line. And yeah, definitely, we'll have to see. The dog is going to get shot down right away, so that might still leave these three players on A. This has to be the call now for SAD Esports to move in a little bit more quickly into the B pop, because they have now a 4 versus 2 on that side.
SRB not fully convinced after that ramp push. And that's why X is clearing through mid. Will be able to stack into B, and Smoke will put up a wall, put up a hand in SAD's face to stop the speed that SAD like to play at so much. But of course, the weapons at range will do all the talking. Satellite popping out, and no, it's his head that gets popped. Zaj can really impress you mechanically in these lower buys. Gotta respect SAD, they're moving in as a unit. Nature will bulldoze them down as a team, and SRB to match point. By the way, SAD's map pick, and they chose to go here, and this is a gladiator arena that SRB were very good at.
Yeah, and the reason why we're all thinking and questioning our heads too, looking at the BO5 into why these two maps are going to be Lotus and Split in the first place, because if you look at the map pool from SRB, it's probably their best maps going into the series. They're a little bit weaker on Haven and Ascent, which is map 4 and 5, and Pearl is untested. So there's the reason why I'm saying this is not over yet. SAD Esports has a chance to really reverse this to push this into a 5th map, but they're going into the same type of play, this time with 5 players into the B site.
And look at that changer from Satellite. But man, okay, SAD address it. I like those adaptations, because Smoke and Satellite have been so dynamic with how they've been holding B defensively, but Nature will have Seekers, 2v4, Anders or not. They're just almost don't even seem like they'd want to buy. Dodging the dog without having to shoot it does maybe hide the footsteps. And whoa, what a gap that Nature just shot through. Smoke is nowhere near the action, so this is not a retake, but rather, how costly can you make this for SAD?
Yeah, he's going to move in towards the B main side too. Both of these players are trying to look for exit kills because they know the economy is still very low for SAD Esports. So if they actually are able to take down these weapons, they might still be in a good position in the next round, where SAD will not have the best of weapons overall. Willie's about to walk out with his knife out, so he's going to lose his... Oh, never mind, cast a curse. Willie stays alive going into that one, and Gives themselves a fighting chance here for SAD Esports, but I like that change from SAD. They went for it when they had like a half buy on that previous round to have the wall up and to move through with the Stingers, and to realize here that everything was working according to plan with the exception of Smoke with the Operator. Well, this time, at least if you have 5 players, Smoke's going to kill 1, but at least there's going to be 4 of the players falling up behind that they could overtake the site. And thankfully, they're able to do so without even meeting Smoke in the first place and get the round.
Having a Neon on your team means you could leverage the ult and even some kind of shotgun play on attack, but closing the gap, you still have to try and get an SRB space. Who've been really good at playing further back. Smoke not gonna pull the trigger yet. Seekers, dogs, SRB trying to suppress. Vita still jumps into all the action through the Seekers and everything. SRB happy to greet. SAD will move forward, but how? The flank has been shut down, the options limited. SAD have the high ground, but now needs someone within the site to clear Smoke.
They're scared. Look at that. Smoke's in the A side. They're like, oh crap, what can we do? We can't go into A anymore. Now we've lost all map control after the hit initially over on the A side. And now down to the middle, they're hoping that somebody's going to overextend down towards sewers so they could punish him. It was Exa in the first place. But look at that. They play numbers. They play the time in their favor for SRB. And Exa still plays an aggressive line, but at least not in a place where he's going to get, he's going to forfeit so much map control for SRB. So prime position right now for Shopify to close out this second map.
How SRB are dispersed too. They're confident about this rehit. So all rides on Smoke. Now he hears that noise. He's gonna choose his moment carefully, and it's huge. Zaj down, 2 left. It's hunting season, and Welly's looking like prey. Misses the shot. He won't do so again. Barrel to the dome. 13-6 for SRB, and it's series point.
And stands up right after that kill too. Insane shots coming out from Smoke in the last couple of rounds on defense as this Jet operator. I mean, Roy was mentioning it on the desk, the reason why you have to keep an eye on a player like that, because he could definitely be another player that carries Shopify Rebellion into the brink of qualifying into at least the LCQ of the VCL.
Thank you, Sierra. And I agree with the desk. The last stand for SAD, and it's on SRB's map pick. Kind of a weird one. We haven't seen it in a while, as they summarized well. But if there's one thing I can describe SAD as, is very resilient.
Agreed. And a good thing about SRB choosing this map was because of the compositional change that you currently see right now from the side of Shopify. So putting Smoke onto that Jet instead of a Chamber, I still think is very good on this map, especially the lines that Smoke could really take could be a lot more aggressive on the defensive side than it could be with a Chamber. And always Smoke is going to be proficient on a Jet no matter what. SAD Esports, though, I do agree with you when it comes down to having grit and having lots of fight for SAD. They definitely do have it, and it comes in spades, especially when it comes down to these pistol rounds. And when you're playing this type of map with Vita on a Neon, with Paint as a Phoenix, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of like bandits going into the pistol round too to try to close the gap and go into the fight. So let's see what happens here. A Sheriff for Welly, Ghost, double Sheriff too, and Util to fight towards the A main.
And SAD in that series against M80 didn't look pretty, but Vita, 6 first kills, like a large part of their fight back was behind this Neon. Probably a reason why this could be a good map for them. See how they could try to flood in, but just the Molly sets this SAD attack ablaze, and Nature's just the cherry on top. Not the first time that SAD get completely stopped when they bring that speed to the table. I mean, we just saw it on Split, and SRB take a very convincing pistol after that.
It had to be a Gravwell or something there too, right? Like at Xander, he's got 3 assists. So going in the combination of a hot hands on to the front side, and also seeing that the nature of what SAD currently has on the attack side when it comes to trying to get space and entry on sites, there's no dashes, there's no updrafts, there's no double dash from a whaley, nothing. So you're just running straight into it. And unfortunately, everything catches you. You just burn to a crisp. A great start for SRB, but not the one you wanted to look for SAD. I did mention in that second map with the comp change that you had for SAD, it was basically a make it or break it, where especially in that second map, it was one-sided for the side of SRB in terms of results. So SAD, hopefully they still have a little bit of gas in a tank and confidence here to fight in this third map.
You still have hope when Zaj is still alive as well. One of the most mechanical people on the team, but man, just barrel stuffed, suffocated at this choke point. Sad have just not been able to really command a lane. And you know, they're on an eco. You only expect so much, but can't brute force at all. Looking like almost a flawless round for SRB. And this is that type of scaling. Yes, it's early in this map, but SRB looks so good, not dropping a single round in the second half there of split. And Sad have to kick off this map on attack, which they didn't take an attacking round on split. So it's really do or die.
Silver lining is that we have a plant, so that's money for Sad going into the next round. But what I have to think about here, and what they have to think about for SAD Esports, is how to counteract against this util from SRB. And even look at the setups that you currently have here from Exa. He has what, probably a lineup to throw those Razor Vines into main, because he set up a wall towards the B side. So you have to think about how to entry towards this site. What do you have in terms of util to break Razor Vines, to break util or whatnot? You don't have anything really on the side of SAD Esports. So it has to be one of those looks on the attack side, especially when you're playing double duelist, to not go as pedal to the metal as expected. You kind of have to start scaling up a little bit more slowly, because you have to basically bait out the stars, bait out the first wave of util that stops you from entering towards these sites. And hopefully they'll understand that as they move forward here.
That's kind of the trade-off of running a fade versus the Sova. You can't have as much deep pressure into B, but these close corners could leverage a good fight. And Vita, the opener, the first kill for Sad with rifles in tow. Exa already wrapping around, good flash. He's just gonna be self-sufficient. Takes care of the ace up Sad's sleeve, but Welly goes in fearlessly to get 3 and even reset the run it back. But he had the spike. All good. Maybe you won't even need it. It's a 1v1 though. After a 3K, things are looking a little hairy. And see if Sad can hold on. Nature's just playing with his food, and locks in when it matters the most.
That is insane plays coming out from both Exa and Nature to close things out on that map. But the anchoring from Exa was huge. Because Xander falling down, that's all the stars gone. But because they had the read and putting the Vice at the right spot, look at how much HP immediately eliminates from the health bar of Vita, probably at 70%. And then even the rest of the team trying to follow behind it, we're just stuck. So you go for a flash, an easy pick. You see now Paint falling down, and then all the rest of them also getting stalled by the great plays of Exa. This is such a hard attack side now for SAD to play. And if they don't commit and convert this round here, or get at least some sort of damage onto SRB, there's got to be a timeout for a talk.
One down.
Yeah, pick your poison. If it's not a Gravwell Molly, it's smoke with some form of a sniper. I mean, he had an opener with the Marshall. He's upgraded to an Outlaw. Imagine once he gets the op going. There's not going to be a safe part of the map for SAD. And with a Stinger buy, you're just hoping to get close enough that you can be in punching distance. The Prowler, based on where that's positioned, you think SAD would want to wrap around A, but really they just kind of want this round wrapped up. They've lost 2 already. They are just going to bring it to SRB. Vita with a pick will give him a weapon upgrade, but Xander stands tall as that anchor. He does get suffocated. SAD, I like that delay, that kind of bait and switch. Try and make this possible, but smoke has emerged, and Nature ends it 4-0 now for SRB.
You see Xander getting the kill onto the spike here on Welly, falling down, and you got to recross back towards the front to pick up the spike. Nothing you could really do there, but at least what was good for SAD Esports was that they crossed the line of scrimmage over on the B side. So they have ways of entries, but they're losing bodies in the process every single time. So hopefully going into these rounds, it could be a little bit more clean for them to have more bodies to set up in these pulse plant scenarios if they're able to get the plant down. There's not going to be a timeout being called by SAD Esports yet, probably because of how they were able to entry the way that they wanted to, but also because maybe the calls from Welly going into this round of the freeze time was good enough according to what was heard from the ears of the coaches.
Information early there from Nature. Orb grab. Vita one away from the overdrive. Run it back. We'll kick things off for Paint. Let's see how deep he can go. The Haunt, though, catches him. Reset without really getting too much information. Just half of the real estate watched for Paint. And already seeing the angles that SRB have to surround SAD once they go in. They are not liking how murky those waters are.
And it was one run it back and lots of utils being used, though, for the side of the A site to stall. Right now, you can really see for SRB, they could simply play the 4-1 setup because of the Vice util that is not really being contested on that B side.
Hey, Vita tried to isolate the chase down onto Xander and takes a moment to catch his breath, and SAD work together, but it gets Smoke. He's a one-man army. A 3K with the up at close range at that. The flicks from Lotus return, and he is just a demon. Blades out, looking for the ace. Up on top, sends Welly to heaven. Smoke is on fire.
What an insane ace by Smoke, with the amount of op shots close range that he held towards that back of the A site. I talked about a 4-1 setup that was going to be still perfect for the side of SRB because they have power of numbers, but he doesn't even need the numbers. He evaporates the whole SAD roster attempting to entry towards the A site. Keep dancing, Smoke. I had to yell over that, so at least I was a self-censor onto what Smoke was saying there.
He gotta chill out before he breaks a headset or you know, his voice goes
Hey, hold
out.
on. Talk over this. Talk over this. There you go.
Well, now you guys have to hear us talk more, unfortunately, because SAD just took a timeout, and this is a good moment. There's some tools for them to work with.
Good moment. It should have been the previous round when they had money to work with.
Hey, you're so true. I'm trying here, man. I'm trying here. Nature hasn't died, too, in 5 rounds. That's impressive.
Yeah. What's even more impressive, unfortunately, is for Paint and Paint getting 0 value so far. They've died 5 times and gotten 0 kills, but that's also just in the nature of how SRB are just in full control of the defensive side. This is just insane what we're currently seeing so far. And how good the shooting is. It's not just on like the util and the macro and the setups of SRB. It's just whenever SAD Esports are moving in with so many bodies, look at how they're getting denied.
Smoke hiding his presence carefully while the rest of SRB maintain, but Zaj and Paint, the whole squad will stick it to this defense. And for once, the lowest buy that SAD have had in a while, managed to get a ton of upgrades. As that timeout really helped them stay composed. Now the dust has settled. SAD have really cleared the way for any site to get hit.
Yeah, the good news is with the cloud that they just had towards Art, that's 2 weapons that they could pick up too, for Zaj and for Paint. Right now, to be honest with you, they should give that rifle onto Welly so that he could actually move in with Paint at fuller HP in the Nightfall to really get in. But maybe it's just on, okay, let's ult, get the guys to entry in while I plant the spike as well. But this would be kind of good here for SAD Esports to get this round, especially when they're at a 5-0 deficit. The wall contact, I do like a lot, though. This could allow an instant trade against Nature.
30 seconds left.
To split up this duo is a risk for SRB. The barrel spotted. Nature! Oh, he's at it again! Oh my god! The heroics, the X factor that SRB brings to every situation that they're outnumbered in. This has gotta hurt SAD. That looked so winnable. It should have been 1.
It's the 2 guys with the rifles that died while he's stuck only with the ghost. The wall contact I like, but the gun sticking out. Nobody wide swung onto the second one too. I guess it's just the angle too. You saw the wide swing coming out from Zaj, but Nature was just a little bit more out. That just allowed for him to get a little bit more ready into that. But man, that, I mean, at the end of the day, this was still an eco round for SAD Esports, and the timeout was for this round right here. That's the silver lining. That's the only cope I have going into this round here for SAD Esports, but SRB are just looking to close this right now.
There.
Some limitations, some hoops for SAD to jump through.
I'm out of here.
Prowler to explore the A side of the map. We're hoping to get Vita activated as he's been shut down a lot. The overdrive, will it be enough to tilt the scales? A nightfall too? The main way of getting information has been around Welly, who wants to conserve this last prowler, this everything he has left to actually hit the site with.
Look at the position from Smoke. That's what I was trying to say earlier too. Not needing to put Smoke on a chamber for every single round too. The amount of space that he's able to garnish right now with the operator is huge. They're even going for double extremity control. Oh no, the ult just for one. I mean, you'll take it.
Nature finally dies. It's like, what, his first death, and you have to throw a whole nightfall at him. Talk about respect. 5 versus 3. The cosmic divide's still intact, but where Zash is, I mean, he is on a journey, completely catching SRB off guard after they were still trying to regroup and they felt secure for the moment. And Zash, I think that's why you let him keep the rifle. No matter what HP he has, he is a shooter.
Indeed, that was a nice little one from Zaj, and it allows here for SAT Esports to get the first round finally on the board. I still want to respect the double push on the side, and Nature, who's been unstoppable so far at 9-0. Why not? He plays a 1v1 in that spot. But it did take a lot here for Welly to be able to win that duel against Nature. So wasting out that Nightfall is that silver lining as well for SRB in the later rounds. But you are starting to see a little bit of exploration more from SAT Esports into middle instead of the extremities, because they realize right now that when it comes down to these quick hits and these quick fights on the extremities, there's just too much stall from the Astra and the Vice util. So maybe that is going to have to be the conditioning opening that you're trying to do for the next couple of rounds for SAT Esports until you finally start going back into extremity control.
This has got to be an important round for SAT to take, also for morale, although it desperate decision making to get it done. But a 0 that turns into a 1, turns into a 2, turns into a SAT comeback. Remember how far ahead SRB were on Lotus and how SAT never gave up. Now for the orb grab, the prowler dodge. Xander goes unnoticed. Nature's a victim, but this opens up the pit for Xander to take advantage. He's concussed, and he still gets a second kill after that. Holy value!
Joke's over.
Razor Vines. Huge.
Hey, run it back. Hey, Satellite will get reset, but Sat are in a position to push him.
Going up.
As Payne has to take his time, and here comes reinforcements for SRB to bail out their Phoenix. And all of this fire is obstructing the SAD pathing. They still have 46 seconds left.
I think you could just play the retake too for SRB. Why not? I love the stall in the teamwork though from both Satellite and Exa. Calls out the Razor Vines, run it back just to confirm the kill on the first one, and still allows SRB to have a player advantage. If it has to come down to it as well,
30 seconds
you
left.
have the Steel Garden available for Exa for them to retake. It will allow for Smoke to fight with the operator as well and give a chance here for SRB to make this 7-1. You hear the plant as well from the POV from Smoke, so here comes the rotate.
Right, SRB having set up Smoke on this high ground. You have Payne. Doesn't have any ways to obscure that vision. Flash out, Smoke, barrel quick to the trigger, and Steel Guarded. Just to deny Payne one final time, but she didn't take away his weapon. You haven't taken away his ability to come back, but it took all 3 of SRB to stop Payne, so whatever gets the job done, I guess.
That was a very nice try by Payne, but I also love the decision from Smoke on that 2 versus 1. Instead of trying to chase towards that back to trade against Xander, felt like he already lost the timing of being able to trade instantly because he had a shorty out right over here. So he dashes back into the front, right where Exa's at, just to instantly trade against Exa. That was very nice. If you hunted him towards that back, that probably would have been a win con for Payne, which would allow for him to isolate 3 individual fights. And now SRB, they already stopped the bleeding. But thankfully, after the plant that we just had from SAT Esports, it allows for him to still have a full armor buy with rifles.
Roy mentioned on the desk that the defense on this map is the side that is very awkward, and Smoke proves that he is just immortal. gets first picks every time. And even funny enough, last map, 11 of the first bloods went Sad's way. So they're usually the ones that are killing it in openers. Now it's a deficit they're really unfamiliar with. And without Vita, it's not going to be easy. Maybe if Paint get the run it back, but you need a kill to do that. And the Thorns, the Razor Vines will stand in their way, and Nature already puts up an early resistance. The angle, though, from Zaj, he finds it. Neural Theft, good information. 180s against Xander. Zaj will will this win into existence if he has to. Assad got first blooded. SRB find themselves behind. Satellite just pops up right past the other guy. And look at this retaliation. Back and forth, the advantages go. Watching carefully as Paint, Smoke started it. Will he end it? Something better to brawl with. The Vandal, the double up, the duo. Well, he gets ahead of it. And Sad get their second round of the half.
Nice repositioning by Satellite, though. Almost won that round here for SRB, but just too many players in the end, thanks to this lurk entry by Zaj. That first pick and even getting the hat for the info, it allows for them to set up a little bit better here in the post plant scenario until Satellite almost made miracles happen. But look at how interesting these rounds have been turned out to be. 6 rounds in a row won by SRB, yet this is only their second round loss, and it's already an eco on their side. It's just to show here how brawly these rounds have been from both extremities here. Especially the lower buy that you had from Sada did a lot of econ damage. Allows for him to still have 1 foot in the game.
Chocolos, the C's. Blaze Hands was almost a killer, but hey, the bullets still land. Zaj has been such a huge part of this fragging department for Sad. And it's an eco too. Not having to give up any of these weapons would be ideal. You have 2 people on Sad, low on credits. So Sad, will this be their way to make this half a little less painful, a little less daunting for them to overcome on their defensive half?
And that's what I was mentioning before, right? The amount of conditioning that Sad has been doing on fighting and opening towards Art, towards Street. In the last 2 rounds, you had a wall coming up and now entries on both extremities. Really trying to keep their opponents on their toes. A nice little attempt there, but the curveball goes behind everybody. But it's still a home run hit for the side of SAD Esports to entry towards the A site for the plant.
Giving it to Paint to get that run it back online as soon as possible. Here comes Exa. Oh, nothing you can do against the curveball, and Paint really looking good in this map. And he's been a big story, or a big talking point for SAD's story of what version of Paint are you going to get today. He was so well known as such a high statistical duelist back in the day when he was a solo duelist, when we were in a solo duelist meta. Now he's had to be that Phoenix support or someone that flexes around Vita. And now he's really been able to be pivotal in rounds like that. SRB taking a timeout to see, in their first timeout, see how they want to close out these last 2 rounds.
Wonder if it's positioning Paint into one of the middle areas now. Because when you're looking at it from the setup of SRB, the amount of time been saying so far that SRB's Exa's utility isn't really being contested from the Vice wall to the Razor Vines yet. And even if they go for the extremities, the wall is going to help towards the B side. And they also have Xander's utility over on the A side. And they also have Nature that could seize. So right now, the gap that they currently have in the space that they allow SAT to take could really be on middle. So if you kind of lock that down at the very beginning with the way that Smoke's been shooting so far, that at least gives you early information if he doesn't land a shot. And even if he dies, allows for players to repivot to focus a little bit more on how to readapt towards the mid round. So maybe that could be the call going into this one as well, to not overextend behind the util that's already being placed by both Xander and by Exa in the first place. And it might be the case you're starting to see Smoke moving up on that side, but he's not going for the aggressive line up towards Art yet. He's looking like he's trying to hold it back towards the street instead, or towards the back of the stairs instead.
Nature's able to play his life pretty well. SAD haven't been able to chase him down. It's almost like Nature is bait, so they can pull smoke out and see if he can get an op shot, or if not, a C, something smoke though. Second shot, first kill. Nature holds the wall, and Sad have no other way around or possibly through this, because Paint doesn't even have the run it back yet. And you do not want to fight into smoke's op. It's just not going to go well. And X is not going to waste any time taking map control. So SRB are not taking a vacation. They're hoping to send Sad on one.
And that's what exactly I was trying to say too. Just trying to leverage smoke to get the first line of defense. So when I guess the way that they were positioning themselves towards that street, if there was going to be any util being thrown in the first place towards that A main, you fight towards A main. If there's nothing, you start double walking your duelists up towards Art. So what happens instead? Util comes out, you play the recall smoke from Xander, he takes the line with the operator, but even if he misses the shot, what was thrown there? Razorvine, C's, hot hands, a suck, everything. You can't really get into the A site, and Smoke still gets a kill on top of that. What an insane hold here by SRB, and yet Sad still not understanding here that it's so hard for them to just plow into those A sites or into the extremities when that util's still up.
Yeah, I could probably only count on one hand how many plants Sad have had. I mean, prevention duty, the protocol is strong. Another angle, try to get as close as you can to the op. Satellite resets Paint, resets the momentum of Sad. Last round of the half, and SRB are just impenetrable. No matter what route you choose, there is no shortcut. And it just doesn't seem like a way to win an attacking round. Sad now hesitate. We'll see. I mean, SRB throwing util and Paint still catching strays. Pain and Zaj against the world, it seems, and we'll have to find another way through this map.
The micro's huge there from both Satellite and Nature. He goes for the Prowler. If somebody's close, they flash a double swing. Nobody's there. He jumps on the ledge. He gets contact, and if they run down, there's still a flash needed to trade out if needed be. But Nature gets that pick. Player advantage. Leg shot at least there, but still, the win is coming. Yeah, check a BC.
Smoke is insane. This whole team is looking well-rounded. Pain, he feels the pressure, feels the heat, but can't get out of the kitchen fast enough. So 9-3 is how this first half and potentially final map ends. But Sad, they have come back from worse than this. You guys wouldn't believe. 10-2 forces overtime. It really is gonna have to depend on their mentals. And SRB are a frustrating team to play against because they'll shoot your body. They do a bit of yapping. You don't hear that part, but you know it. You know what SRB are saying about you. But Sad, if there's one thing that they've really shown throughout this lower bracket, through this whole playoff, is how they've been able to stay as steady as they can through really the pits of deficits.
If they don't hear it through the screens, at least they hear it from the body shooting that's going on here from SRB too when they're getting these kills. So they're definitely playing the mind games for the attack side this time around for Shopify. Nearing the end of closing us out in a 3-0 fashion in this series and secure at least the LCQ to face up against their prime rival of M80 in the grand finals tomorrow. SRB looking to close out the pistol round by storming the front of the B site.
Feeling good, they're feeling confident. You heard the dash. Sad are split from each other. Independent, the solo plays need to be big, but man, when people are jumping across your screen, what are you supposed to do? The frenzies, the pistols, and Sad are not looking like they got much fight left in them after all. Double digits for SRB, the finish line in sight. Will Sad force here, or will they just really bank on the first rifle round next to be the turning point?
Still insane that somehow, with 3 players going in the back of the hallway, a flood comes in from SAD Esports. They're forcing the hand of the players of SRB to move back towards the front of the site to plant because Nature already moved towards that back with the spike in the first place. Yet, they couldn't convert their kills for SAD. Looking at it so far, I wonder what's going on here. 2 players are still staying static into the spawn. Yeah, okay, so they're just having 1 player move up, trying to get info for Welly, and then fast rotate with the ones that could rotate quickly.
Marching in, sad from the top ropes, hoping to wrestle against SRB, do the damage that they can, but they are just feeding the orbs to the beasts of SRB, converting potentially a flawless anti-eco. And more bodies are being shot, words are being said, and silence in the camp of SAD. Is that they were banking, they didn't force that second round because they're really hoping that this will be the moment that they can straighten their posture and remain alive in this map.
If there's no timeouts left for SAD, I can't remember. I feel like this is probably the reason why you had players still stay in
Just
spawn.
one.
Yeah, okay, so Welly maybe called something while they were in the pistol round while he's grabbing the orb and then saying we could try to do something here and then maybe save our timeout for a more important round. Because they were on an eco anyways and they're now playing into the gun round, and Odin out in the hands of Welly.
I'm out of here.
Oh boy.
That's Vita, that's your biggest shooter, and even he's having an off day. SRB not even getting traded out, some damage being done. The flash though, when SAD are caught underwater, drowning and floundering as SRB series point, match point looms, satellite. Even he's having an incredible day. A 3K in that round, and he's just off on his own. He's in the defender's spawn.
That's what I'm saying. He's where they buy guns. He's still full HP. That's insane what just happened there for Satellite. Catching Vita off guard, but still making it in towards that spawn to get one pick off the rotate, yet still get another pick while he picks up a weapon and still gets a kill. But the wall bang, double kill from SRB onto the streets. They just understood the bait and switch. They didn't even care if they were blinded. They weren't setting up their crosshairs for the swing. They're just spamming the boxes and got double kills there. This just shows the dominance of SRB. They want to close this right away, and they want to show here to M80 that they're going to have one fight up ahead against them tomorrow in Championship Sunday.
Same protocols.
Joke's over.
Flash, Prowler, run it back. Nothing to laugh at. Joke's over. And SRB hoping to expose his team one final time as the judge is up close. They're silenced. Vita has to get in position. He's in the smoke and he waits patiently. Look at where, Xander is. A flank that SAD could not mark in time until Xander's impact has already been felt. It's a splash from SRB, having all five still intact. And SAD looking like a puddle out here. Welly, Vita, Zaj together for potentially the final time.
Now the camera gets broken, so confirming that the hit's coming towards B.
Okay, Zaj has the lineup. 3 headshots. He gives them a raft. Gives them a chance to stay afloat.
30 seconds left.
Satellite identifies Vita, flicks onto Zaj. Is this how it ends? There's no way. SAD thought they stabilized, and it's the IGL, the captain. And he's locked in, no words being said. He needs to be loud. He jumps in the middle, he's flashed, he's dead, and so are SAD. A grand finals rematch, destiny between SRB and M80.
And that's something that Smoke mentioned before in the upper brackets a long time ago against EG Academy when they won. They were expecting a grand finals matchup against M80. Not in this fashion, though, for Shopify Rebellion Black to have to go down into a lower bracket run after losing to SAT Esports in the upper semis. But Shopify Rebellion, they get their revenge against SAD and are looking for their revenge against M80, a team that they have yet to beat in the stage number 3. But again, a grand finals to be expected to be one hell of a banger.